You need a reason, huh? A small smile appeared on his face. Yes? Ansel nodded. Nux then turned towards Armando and ordered, "Beat him up." Huh? Huh? Both Armando and Ansel had the same confused reaction. However, they didn't have much time to think about it. Armando's body moved on its own and he lashed on to Ansel and started beating him up. What are you doing? Ansel, who was just an expert stage cultivator, was unable to fight against a king stage cultivator and was being beaten up by Armando. I can't control my body, Armando answered with a shocked and horrified look on his face. Just what is this magic? At the same time, he wondered in his mind. That agonizing pain, the ability to control one's body, just what is this strange and overpowered magic? Does every member of this mysterious organization have these abilities? He couldn't help but question inwardly, and at the same time he continued beating up Ansel. Soon Armando started enjoying it. Wasn't Ansel the bastard who led him to his doom? Why not repay this favor to him? Soon Armando got control of his body, and then he started beating Ansel of his own accord. Master, at least, tell me what's my Ansel, who was crying on the ground, questioned as well. All right, this is enough, suddenly Nux ordered. Armando stopped and stood up with a refreshed smile on his face. As for Ansel, he just lay on his spot as if he was dead. You did well, Nux complimented. Master, I still do not understand why you ordered me to do this, questioned Armando. Yeah, I want to know that as well, Ansel, who was lying on the ground, questioned as well. Well, you needed a reason, right? Nux smiled, and soon he revealed his plans. 30 minutes passed by. Right now, Nux was standing inside a tent, and in front of him there were 6 people sleeping peacefully. These 6 people were all expert stage cultivators. The Solid Earth Kingdom secretly attacked Woods Dynasty's camp and killed 30 Grand Master Stage cultivators and 100 weaker soldiers. Of course, this has nothing to do with Nux. However, it did hurt his future woman. Therefore, Nux decided to take a little revenge. 30 Grand Master Stage cultivators. It should be comparable to 6 expert stage cultivators, right? Nux thought inwardly, and then he shrugged. Whatever, it is the thought that is counted. Do note that this is the man who is acting strangely for 3 whole days just because he killed someone. Now, killing 3 expert stage cultivators was completely normal for him. This was the time when Nux truly and officially integrated into this world. All right, let's get this started, shall we? Nux smiled, and then he stepped forward. Since it was dark, he was using his sense to look around. Of course, since his conceal was activated, no soldier standing outside or the soldier sleeping inside realized his presence. This will be a simple mission. Soon, Nux appeared in front of a man who was sleeping with a carefree look on his face. A dagger appeared in Nux's hand. He then raised his hands. However, just as he was about to kill the soldier rolled aside and dodged his attack. An assassin! Everyone, be on guard! The soldier shouted. The other 5 soldiers reacted quickly and woke up. Their weapons appeared in their hand, and in the next second they were attacking Nux with everything they had. There is an assassin here! Come inside! Another soldier shouted. The soldiers outside the tent were surprised. Just how in the world did an assassin enter the tent? How did they not see him? Is he some kind of ghost? What kind of trick did he use? Also, what is going to happen to them now? However, right now they didn't have much time to think about all these questions. They all looked at each other, and then they dashed inside the room and attacked the assassin, who was already surrounded by 6 other expert stage soldiers. Now that assassin was surrounded by 10 expert stage soldiers. Attack him! Try not to kill him. It would be better if we can capture him alive." "Heh, I wonder who gave him the confidence to attack us all alone." "Ha! Too arrogant, this bastard." "Oi, you guys, don't act like that. He might just be a distraction. All of you who had just entered, leave the tent. We can take him out alone. You guys go and check other tents. See if there are any other tents that are being attacked. Increase the security around the area. Check how they entered our camp without us knowing. Capture the man responsible for all this. Inform the generals, and they are the ones who will tell us what to do," one of the soldiers ordered. Since his words sounded logical, no one complained, and soon action was taken. The soldiers who had just entered the tent left and started checking other tents. At the same time, they started informing other soldiers about the attack. The whole army camp reacted at a lightning-quick speed, and soon a big search for other assassins was started. Inside the tent, 6 expert-stage soldiers surrounded a single assassin. With their weapons in their hands, all 6 of those soldiers had smiles on their faces. As for the assassin who was surrounded by these 6 soldiers, well, he was confused. Yes, he was not scared. Rather, he was shocked and confused. My conceal didn't work? Nux's eyes widened in surprise.
My conceal didn't work? Nux's eyes widened in surprise. Why is this happening? Wasn't it working fine just a few minutes ago? Or were these soldiers just pretending not to notice me? Nux thought about this possibility while dodging the attack that was aimed at him. Soon, however, he shook his head. No, this is not possible. This is a completely foolish move. Then how? Just how did that man dodge my attack? Nux questioned inwardly as he looked at the white-haired man in front of him. Is he special? Is he different from the others? Nux thought inwardly, and then his golden eyes shined brightly. Name: Ajax, Wanderer. Age: 121. Mana cultivation: Expert. Body cultivation: Mortal. Race: Human. Occupation: Deputy General of the Solid Earth Kingdom. Talent: High. LVL: 54. HP: 650/650. MP: 1100/1100. STR: 62. AGL: 66. VIT: 65. STM: 62. INT: 110. DEF: 52. And... Seeing his information, Nux's frown deepened. He doesn't really look any special either. Is it someone else? Someone who somehow blocks my conceal? Nux then looked at everyone's status, but wasn't able to find anything different. What in the hell is happening? Nux couldn't understand, and he wasn't given any time to think about all this either. "He's inside! The deputy generals are fighting him! Let's help them!" Soon he heard a soldier's voice, and he understood that he couldn't waste any more time here. Nux then looked at the 6 soldiers in front of him and sighed. It would have been better if the other 3 hadn't rushed out of this room, but oh well, 6 is not bad either. Hearing his words, the other 6 soldiers frowned. "What are you talking about?" one of the soldiers questioned. Nux, however, didn't reply. The 2 daggers in his hand disappeared, and soon a sword appeared in his right hand. Then Nux disappeared. "What? Where is he?" Those were the last words. Thud, thud, thud. 6 heads fell on the floor, followed by a fountain of blood that erupted from their necks. Nux, however, didn't care about anything, and he simply dashed out of the tent. "Look, he's trying to run away! Chase him! Kill him! What about the deputy generals? Someone go inside the tent and report the situation." "I will." Amongst the chaos, Nux tried to run and leave the army camp. However, he soon realized that there were 4 king-stage cultivators standing near the exit, waiting for him. Fuck! Did these bastards already know that their deputy generals would lose? That is some confidence in your subordinates' skills. Tisk tisk, Nux snorted. The generals who were looking at him running towards them chuckled. We finally caught this rat, huh? He's much more agile than normal rats. Indeed, indeed. However, the 4 king stage cultivators turned silent when they noticed that in this seemingly tense situation, a small smile appeared on Nux's face. Yes, even though his face was covered, the generals could still see that smile on Nux's face. That was just how wide the smile was. That bastard? Is he smiling? One of the generals questioned with a frown on his face. Is he crazy? No, it feels like he has some sort of plan in his mind. A general muttered, and he was right. The generals prepared their attacks and aimed at Nux. However, the closer he got, the wider Nux's smile got. Don't think too much about this. He's just a crazy bastard. Everyone, attack in 3, 2, 1. Huh? Just as the generals were about to attack, something different happened. Nux's speed increased. Within a second, he bypassed the generals and continued to run. Attack him! Don't let him run away! A general finally came out of his reverie and ordered. The 4 generals shot their attacks towards Nux, and kaboom! A huge explosion sounded. That bastard thought he could run away. Ha ha ha! A general laughed. However, then his eyes fell on another general who was looking at the situation with a solemn look on his face. "Why do you look so serious?" the general questioned. "We killed him?" the other general questioned. "Huh? So what? Oh, you wanted to capture him alive. Right. Indeed, he was strong. He must have known some good information. Well, we can't do anything. That bastard and his abilities were too strange. Indeed, killing a variable like him is the best option. Yes, he could be a very troublesome enemy in the future." The generals discussed with each other. However, hey, how in the hell is that possible? A general muttered in surprise. What happened? Another general questioned as he looked in the direction the other general was pointing, and soon his eyes widened in surprise. He's alive? He questioned in shock. Nux, who was attacked by all their attacks combined and got caught by such a huge explosion, was still alive. Let alone alive, he was completely scratchless. Just how is that possible? Should we chase him? You think we can catch that bastard? He's too fast. The generals discussed with each other, and Nux, he ran away. This ability is absurd, Nux chuckled inwardly as he looked at the screen in front of him. Dash, active skill, effects, doubles host's AGL for 5 seconds. Invincibility, while the ability is active, the host will not take any damage. Can only be used once a day. Warning, while using this ability, if the host does some action other than a dash, the invincibility will lose its effect. Yes, this was the ability that Nux used. He got it as a reward for becoming Grand Master Cultivator. However, he didn't get any chances to use this ability. Today was the first time he had used it, and he had to say, it is simply broken. It's like having an extra life. Invincibility. I wonder if I can obtain an ability like that someday. Not as an after effect, but a pure ability that I can activate anytime I want. That would be cool. That bastard. He ran too fast. Did anyone see his face? I wasn't able to since he has a mask covering it. The color of his eyes isn't common. We can try using that to narrow down our search list, a general suggested, and hearing him, the other generals thought about it and then nodded in agreement. Indeed, golden-colored eyes weren't common. They could use that as the base of their search. Yes, and he had a well-built physique as well. Soon, other generals started pointing out what they noticed, and an imaginary picture of Nux was created. Golden eyes, muscular built, fair skin, and 1.9 meters tall.
With this, they had high chances of finding this person. "General!" Suddenly, a soldier rushed toward the generals and shouted. "What happened?" "General, the deputy generals who fought against that assassin?" "Yes, what happened to them?" "They are all dead," the soldier reported with a panicked look on his face. The generals looked at each other and narrowed their eyes. From the time the presence of an assassin was revealed to the now, only 15 minutes had passed. Was this soldier insinuating that in these 15 minutes, not only did that assassin manage to escape from the grasp of their entire army camp, but he was also able to kill 6 expert stage cultivators? Just how is that possible? "Take us there," a general ordered with a solemn look on his face. "Yes, General." The soldier saluted, then he turned around and started running towards the tent where Nux and the 6 deputy generals fought against each other. The generals followed the soldier, and soon a strong scent of blood assaulted their noses. Their expression turned solemn, and then they entered the tent. "This?" One of the generals couldn't believe his eyes. "We were waiting for the general's orders, therefore we did not do anything," the soldier inside the room muttered with a pale look on his face. Obviously he was scared, not from the generals, but from the sight in front of him. "You did well, you can leave now," one of the generals nodded. The soldier nodded back, and then he rushed out of the tent. Then a solemn look appeared on the generals' faces. "They were killed in a single move," a general muttered. "Yes, and with how clean the cut on their neck is, combined with how the assassin was able to run away after attacking using an attack like this, it is clear that the assassin was holding back and still hadn't used his full power," another general spoke. "You guys?" Suddenly a general spoke up, gaining everyone's attention. "Do you think you guys can kill 6 expert stage cultivators in one move and then escape from 4 king stage cultivators?" Nobody answered. However, that silence was an answer itself. "Does that mean that man was stronger than us?" Again, no one answered. "Yes." After a long silence, a voice was heard. The 4 generals frowned, and then they turned to where that voice came from. "Armando!" All the generals recognized the man who had just entered the tent. "That assassin is stronger than all of us. How do you know about it?" Armando then pointed at his injuries and answered, "I just fought him." The expressions on the generals' faces turned solemn. "You lost against him?" a general questioned. "No, I did not lose. However, if he wasn't in a hurry, I'm sure he could have killed me." Again, the whole tent turned silent. First, that assassin sneaked inside their camp. Then he sneaked past the soldiers and entered the tent where 6 expert stage cultivators slept. He then got caught, and the whole army camp learned about him. However, that man simply killed the 6 expert stage cultivators, dashed outside, and right in front of the entire army camp, he ran away. And as if this wasn't enough, the man also fought against a king stage cultivator and was able to injure him. Just what kind of monster was that? Does he not get tired? The generals were confused. "Wait," suddenly a general spoke, and then he looked at Armando. "How did you catch him?" And as if he was prepared for this question, Armando answered without missing a beat. "I did not catch him. He just appeared right in front of me and my subordinate while we were returning to the camp." "Returning? Where did you go?" The general narrowed his eyes. "We had some work to do." Armando gave a vague answer, and since their position was the same, the other generals didn't have any authority to question any further. "So does that mean this assassin was a king stage cultivator?" another general questioned. "Yes, he is a king stage cultivator, and a very strong one at that." "Was he sent by the Woods dynasty?" Armando shook his head. "That I do not know." "It has to be, right? Who else would be daring enough to attack our army camp?" another general muttered. "That is true, but there are no records of the Woods dynasty having such a powerful assassin in their ranks. Yes, I've never heard of this assassin before either. If the Woods dynasty had an assassin like this under their command, then why didn't they use him more often? Why is he not well known?" "We do not know."
The generals continued to discuss, while one of them ordered the soldiers to take care of the dead bodies and prepared their burial. The whole army camp was in chaos for the next few hours, and the man who was responsible for all this, well, he was just lying down on the ground looking at the stars with a small smile on his face. I guess it's time to return, huh? Thinking that, the man closed his eyes, and the next moment he disappeared and reappeared many miles away, on top of a bed where a certain woman with a lean physique and icy blue eyes was waiting for him. "Hello, love."
"This is a problem," Deputy General Lawrence muttered. "Why do I feel like the dynast is taking things too lightly?" Another deputy general muttered. "Because he's an idiot. He doesn't understand how serious this situation is." "He might be an idiot, but what about his ministers? Are they idiots as well?" "Well, as long as the dynast doesn't agree, the ministers can't do anything." "But 10 beginner stage spies? That's all the help they could offer? How do they expect us to get any result with a force like this? Do they think we don't have beginner stage spies under us? Are they trying to mock us?" "There is no use discussing this right now." The room turned silent when Ember spoke, and everyone looked at her face with solemn looks on their faces. Seeing that she had managed to gain their attention, Ember continued. "The dynast has made it clear that he won't provide us with any help, so don't count on their help. If you have any ideas on how to tackle this situation with our own strength, I am all ears." "I do have an idea, but I'm not sure if it will work or not," Deputy General Lawrence spoke. Ember turned her head towards him and nodded. The Deputy General nodded back and explained his plan. "Our biggest problem is lack of information. Our spies are unable to sneak inside the enemy kingdom due to their tight security, and it is becoming quite a big hurdle for our future plans. Therefore, I would like to weaken this tight security they have." "How do you plan on doing it?" a deputy general questioned. Then a cold look appeared on Lawrence's face, and he answered, "War. We will start a war. However, the main motive of this war won't be to win over the High Crane Fort, rather it would be to send some of our spies into the Solid Earth Kingdom. Since they're fighting a war, their security system would be weaker, and our spies would be able to enter the kingdom. Is that what you're betting on?" another deputy general questioned. "Yes," Lawrence nodded, and the deputy general frowned. "You were going to sacrifice thousands of soldiers just so you could plant some spies inside the Solid Earth Kingdom?" Lawrence, however, did not back down and answered, "If we don't get the information we need soon, a lot more than 1,000 soldiers would lose their lives. It is a necessary sacrifice." Lawrence did not deny it. He was ready to sacrifice a few to save many. Silence. Silence. Silence echoed inside the room, however soon one deputy general agreed. "I agree with this plan. This is a necessary sacrifice." And just after he nodded, the other deputy general nodded as well. "I agree as well. I believe this is the only thing we can do right now." The 3 deputy generals then looked at Ember for her response. However, before the general could respond, someone else spoke. "I strongly disagree with this plan." The deputy generals frowned as they turned their heads towards Thyra. Ember had a frown on her face as well. "Why do you disagree?" she questioned. Actually, even she thought that this plan was good. However, this was the first time she has seen Thyra rejecting something so strongly. Therefore, she wanted to listen to her reasonings. "I want to talk to you alone," Thyra muttered as she looked into her eyes. Ember and the deputy generals frowned. "We can talk after the meeting is over," Ember replied. Thyra, however, shook her head. "It's important." Silence. Ember turned silent. Then she looked at the deputy generals, and suddenly Lawrence stood up. "General Ember, I believe I need some more time to think about this plan in more detail." Ember looked at him and smiled thankfully. "All right, I give you 1 day to think it thoroughly. Is that enough?" "Yes." "Good. Today's meeting concludes here."
Ember ordered, and the 3 deputy generals stood up, saluted at Ember, and left. Then Ember looked at Thyra and questioned, "Now tell me what's in your mind. Why did you reject that idea?" "As you are right now, challenging the solid Earth Kingdom to a war is a suicidal action." Ember got her answer, however the one who answered the question was not Thyra, but someone else. Ember frowned and then turned around. Her eyes then widened in surprise when she noticed Nux standing right behind her with a leisurely look on his face. "Long time no see, friend." "When did you appear behind me? No, when did you even enter inside the tent? No, when did you even return from the solid Earth Kingdom?" Ember asked, a series of questions. "Well, that is not important. Aren't you curious about what I learned from my investigations instead?" Nux asked, with a smile on his face. Ember frowned as she wanted to ask more questions. However, she knew her priority, therefore she subdued her curiosity and questioned. "What did you learn? What's happening inside the solid Earth Kingdom? Why is it moving so strangely? Why is the security so tight? How are they able to catch every single one of our spies?" Suddenly, Nux's playful smile disappeared, and he answered, "The Emperor is moving." Then Nux revealed everything he learned to Ember, and the more she heard, the wider her eyes got. 30 minutes later. "So you're saying they have 7 king stage cultivators acting as generals of the army?" Ember questioned. "Yes, their current army is a lot stronger than yours. Following Lawrence's plans is no different than suicide." Nux nodded, and then a paper appeared in his hand, and he passed it to Ember. "This is the paper containing all the information about their soldiers, their names, affinities, numbers, and their cultivation, everything." "How did you get your hands on it?" Ember questioned in surprise. Then a playful smile appeared on Nux's face, and he replied, "I got it from General Armando." "I got it from General Armando," Nux answered with a playful smile on his face. "General Armando?" Ember narrowed her eyes, and then she questioned, "Why would he give something so important to you?" Seeing her reaction, Nux chuckled. "Secret," he answered. Ember continued to look at Nux without any change in her expression. What she wanted was clear, however. Nux didn't give in. "Trust me, I will not betray you." He just said these words. Ember narrowed her eyes even further, and then she started thinking. 3 minutes later, she stopped looking at Nux, and then she started reading the paper Nux handed to her. The more she read, the more solemn her expression got. "Are all these other soldiers members of sects or adventurers groups as well?" she questioned. "Yes, this is the reason why they have so many strong cultivators in their army. The troops they lost in war against us were nothing to them. That is the reason why they were so carefree when they lost. Compared to what they have, what they lost that day was nothing." "Following Lawrence's plan is suicide, huh?" Ember muttered with a wry smile on her face. "Actually, even if you don't follow Lawrence's plan, your defeat is inevitable. As I said, their emperor is moving. Emperors are different from others. We can't face them, no matter how superior tactics we use. What you need to do is ask for the dynast's help. Tell them about this situation and retreat as soon as possible," Nux suggested, and Ember nodded with a solemn look on her face. "You are right. We can't go against emperors. I will send him another letter and seek his help." That would be the best," Nux nodded. Ember looked at Nux and smiled. "Nux, this is the 3rd time you have saved my army from a devastating defeat and unnecessary sacrifices. No, actually, this time you haven't only saved my army, but you have also saved my own life. I am grateful." Then Ember continued, "I owe you a big favor, Nux. As a repayment, you can ask me whatever you want, and if it is something I can do, I will do it." Ember had a simple, upright nature. She was like a foolish and honest warrior.
Owing favors to others or something like that is something she doesn't like at all. She prefers to even out as soon as possible. Now that she owes a big favor to Nux, she would do her level best to pay him back. No matter what he asks, she would fulfill it. However, "Don't worry about it," Nux replied with a small smile on his face. "Huh?" Ember frowned. "Nux, you have been with me for a while now. You should know that I am not someone who would forget about favors. I need to pay you back." Ember's expression was very serious right now. Nux, however, just chuckled. "I don't think you are getting what I'm saying, General Ember." "Huh?" "I never said I am forgetting or nullifying this favor. What I am doing right now is stacking it. Hee, I am sure that this isn't the last time you will need my help. You will keep owning me in the future as well." Nux then stood up from his chair and walked towards Ember, with his face so close to hers that their noses brushed with each other. Nux continued in an extremely seductive voice. "My plan is to keep stacking these favors up until it becomes so heavy that once I ask you what I want, you won't reject me no matter what it is. General Ember Windstar, I will only make my move when I am absolutely sure that you can't escape from my trap." Ember looked at Nux's golden eyes with a lost look on her face. Soon, however, she came out of her reverie and smiled. "You are making me nervous, little boy. The more you stack this favor, the more I would wonder, what is it that you so desperately want that requires you to stack so many favors? What would I lose if I give you what you want? Questions like these scare me, little boy." Seeing that he was not able to see her flustered expression, Nux backed off with a disappointed look on his face. Then he shook his head and muttered, "Tisk tisk, the fearsome General Ember Windstar, a prodigy who has affinities with 2 elements, is afraid of a 19-year-old boy's request. If others hear about it, their ears might fall off." A teasing smile appeared on Ember's face as she turned towards Thyra. "Hey, don't others already know about it?" "I am not others, you bitch. I am a lot closer to Nux than you will ever be." Ember chuckled, and then she stood up. "All right, Nux, I will meet you soon. I am looking forward to that." Nux and Thyra then left the tent. Assistant General Thyra. In the middle of the night, a soldier appeared in front of Thyra's tent and shouted, "What is it?" After a while, Thyra walked out and questioned, "I apologize for interrupting your sleep, Assistant General. However, the General seeks your presence, and it is urgent," the soldier reported. "Huh?" Thyra frowned. Unable to understand Ember's action, however, since the soldier said that it was urgent, she didn't think too much about it and nodded. "All right, give me a minute." Thyra then entered the tent, and after a while she returned, with Nux following her. "Take me there," she ordered. However, the soldier shook his head. "Assistant General Thyra, the General has specifically mentioned that you must come alone." Hearing those words, Nux and Thyra frowned. Thyra then looked at Nux, and the latter nodded. "If something happens, call me as soon as possible. Don't worry." Thyra nodded towards the soldier, and the two of them walked away. Why does she want to meet her alone? Nux wondered inwardly, but then he shook his head and returned to the tent. I'm sure she won't harm her. With that thought in his mind, Nux closed his eyes and slept. However, soon Nux's eyes widened in surprise when a dagger's icy cold blade touched his neck. Out of reflex, Nux used his sense to see who it was. However, before he could even activate it, he heard a voice. That is a good expression. I don't get to see this expression on your face that often. Nux frowned. Ember? A satisfied smile appeared on Ember's face and she nodded. You can recognize me from my voice. Good job. You would have been in big trouble if you weren't able to do something like this. What are you doing here, General? I am an impatient woman, Nux. Ember smiled.
Then she moved a dagger a little closer to Nux's neck and continued, "Now, don't move." Ember then grabbed Nux's hands, then she placed them on top of his head one by one. Grabbing both his hands with one hand, Ember smiled with a satisfied look on her face, and then she finally crawled on top of Nux. Nux's eyes widened in surprise when Ember appeared in front of him. "How do I look?" Ember questioned with a playful look on her face. Nux didn't answer. He was just too busy admiring this alluring sight in front of him. Right now, Ember was not wearing her normal suit, rather she was wearing a very thin, black-colored see-through gown that barely did anything to hide her sinful body. Other than her private parts, which were covered with a black-colored bra and panty, the rest of her body was practically naked. Nux didn't say anything and continued to stare at those well-toned abs. His little brother twitched. Today, Nux unlocked a new fetish: abs. Fuck, they are alluring. He cursed inwardly. Ember, who didn't get the answer she wanted, wasn't disappointed at all. She may have not gotten the response she had expected or wanted, however what she got was something far more satisfying than what she imagined, especially the little twitch on Nux's lower part. Of course, she did not miss that. Ember smiled. Then she moved her body and, unknowingly, placed her little sister on top of Nux's shaft. Nux felt a strange jolt of pleasure coursing through his body. Ember, however, didn't give him any chance to collect his thought and moved her face dangerously close to Nux's. Right now, their faces were so close that if any one of them moved even an inch closer, their lips would meet. The two of them could practically feel each other's breath. "What are you doing, General Ember?" Nux, who was lost in Ember's beautiful red eyes, questioned. Ember's black-red hairs falling on his face did nothing to distract him. Rather, they made this situation such a way that all he could see was Ember's face, which he was very satisfied to keep it that way. It was a sight to behold, after all. Looking at Nux's face, Ember smiled seductively. "I am here to fuck you. Forcefully if I have to." For some reason, Nux's heart skipped a beat. Ember had sprayed perfume on her body. Along with her wet clothes, Nux knew that she had taken a bath and prepared herself before coming here. Just thinking about all this, Nux got hard. He was completely entranced by this woman in front of him. Soon, however, his inner sadistic woke up. A playful smile appeared on Nux's face. "General Ember Windstar, you do realize that what you are about to do is a crime, right?" "Yes, I do." Ember smiled. "Won't you get into trouble if you commit a crime?" Nux questioned with a curious look on his face. "Do you think the general of a dynasty would get into trouble for something so insignificant?" "Don't worry, I have enough influence to get out of this situation without any problems. Also, it's not like I will get into any sort of trouble in the first place." Why do you say that?" Nux questioned with a curious look on his face. "Heh," the general chuckled. "It is called a crime if it gets caught. I, however, won't get caught because the victim in my case won't file a complaint against me, right?" "Hey? How are you so sure about that? I have a lover, you know. Just thinking about how sad she will be after learning that the love of her life got raped by someone makes me angry. So angry that I will file many cases against you and seek justice." "So you have a lover, eh?" Ember smiled, and then she questioned. "Why did you not think of this lover when you were stacking all these favors in order to fuck me?" "So you knew it," Nux smiled. "It is pretty hard to not know when you leave so many obvious hints, boy. Did you think looking at me with those desperate and passionate eyes would hide it?" "No, actually, were you even trying to hide it?" Ember questioned with a chuckle. Nux chuckled as well. Then, suddenly, she sealed his lips. Nux's eyes widened in surprise, and he was unable to react in time. Ember's lips continued to touch his. However, by the time he came out of his reverie and actually got to enjoy her sweet lips, Ember broke the kiss. "Boy, you are handsome, you are intelligent, you are strong, you are reliable, and you are resourceful. You are a great man. However, you have one fault." "What is it?" Nux questioned. "You are not direct enough," Ember answered. "Huh?" Nux frowned, and then Ember explained. "Looking at me with those eyes full of passion, fantasizing about me, and then planning about how to get your hands on me from afar is too passive. Be a warrior, boy. If you want something, ask for it. You don't need any favors or something like this. If you want to spend a night with me, have enough guts to come up and ask for it. That is how a warrior does things." Ember explained, and then a wild aura was released from her body. "Don't worry, though. I will show you the way of the warriors in a great detail. Be prepared, boy."
"Be prepared, boy." Ember spoke with a wild, crazy smile on her face, and as if he was influenced by her, a big smile appeared on Nux's face as well. Ember smiled in satisfaction, and then she sealed Nux's lips again. This time, however, Nux wasn't lost anywhere else. This time he enjoyed her sweet and soft lips as much as he can. She was still grabbing his hands above his head, therefore Nux could not move much. However, Nux didn't care. He continued to suck Ember's lips greedily, and the two of them shared an extremely lewd kiss. 3 minutes later, Ember finally broke the kiss and looked at Nux with a smile on her face. Nux smiled back, and suddenly Ember bit her lips. Nux's little brother twitched again. Right now, Nux was rock hard, and all he wanted was to get behind Ember and ram his cock inside her forbidden cave. However, he was not the one in control right now. Ember was the one who had the control. Ember smiled seductively and muttered, "Now stay there like a good boy you are, all right? Don't worry. Appropriate rewards will be given if you listen to what I say. Do you understand?" "Yes, Lady Ember." Nux nodded with an obedient look on his face. He wanted to lash out, however his inner sadist wanted to see how far will this woman go. Seeing him acting so obediently, Ember smiled contentedly, and then she moved her face away from him and sat up. Her hands then moved towards Nux's member that was being unreasonably hard right now. She wanted to calm this little boy down. True to her direct nature, Ember directly removed Nux's pants without any teasing. Then she lowered his underwear, and soon an 8-inch shaft popped out of its confines and nearly slapped Ember's face with its body. Ember's eyes widened in surprise. However, in the next instant, her expression returned to normal. However, this instant did not escape Nux's keen observation, who was looking at Ember with a small smile on his face. Ember was acting as if she was bold and fearless. However, Nux knew the reality. In reality, this bold and fearless warrior was a virgin. This was probably her first time being so close to a man. Therefore, the sadistic Nux was excited to see how long will she act like a strong woman in front of him. Oblivious to his thoughts, Ember continued her little act as she continued to stare at the shaft in front of her. Then her hand moved, and she grabbed Nux's little brother gently. Nux's body twitched a little. This reaction was enough for Ember to know that what she was doing was correct. She turned towards Nux and smiled. "Good job in following my orders. Now let's start with your rewards, shall we?" Saying that, Ember's hand moved. She continued to move her hand while looking at Nux's facial expressions, and soon she figured out the right amount of force that she had to use. Oog. And soon Nux groaned in pleasure. Ember's movement may be experienced, but with just how she was looking at him, he felt a strange sense of pleasure all over his body.
Combined with those rough hands that hardened due to years of training, holding his dick was weirdly satisfactory and doubled the pleasure he was feeling. Hearing Nux's groan, a satisfied look appeared on Ember's face, and then she increased her speed. Nux moved his body unnaturally to cope with the sudden pleasure, and seeing this, Ember's smile widened. Now, boy, if you are about to give in to the pleasure and release something, you better tell me before you do it, all right?" Saying that, Ember slowed her speed, before suddenly increasing it again. "Oog!" Another moan of pleasure escaped Nux's mouth. This moan motivated Ember even further, and she put her heart and soul into giving a hand job to Nux. Since her movements roughened up, Nux could see the clear picture of her beautiful breasts moving up and down continuously. This sight further aroused him, and different fantasies started playing in Nux's indecent mind. The pleasure continued to accumulate. Nux continued to moan in pleasure, and soon, oog, he sprayed his milk on Ember's gown. What? Ember stuttered, too shocked to say anything. She couldn't believe that she was covered in something like this. Just what in the hell was happening? How did this happen? Nux, however, looked very pleased by his work. Seeing that ferocious warrior and the leader who led around 60,000 soldiers into the war being covered in his jizz like this filled him with immense pride. He burned this sight into his memory and enjoyed every moment of it. Ember, however, did not like this. "Didn't I tell you to inform me before you come?" she questioned as she narrowed her eyes. "You did," Nux nodded. "Then why did you not follow my order?" "Because I didn't want to," Nux answered with a playful smile on his face. "Huh?" Ember frowned. And seeing this reaction, Nux's smile widened. "This is enough. I can't control myself any more." With that thought in his mind, he started. "General Ember, have you ever heard a case where the victim turns out to be the actual hunter?" "Huh?" Ember's frown deepened. "What are you talking about?" she questioned. "General Ember, you told me to be direct, correct?" Nux questioned back, and before the already confused Ember could react, he moved. The next second, the position reversed. Now the one who was on top of another wasn't Ember, but Nux. Ember couldn't believe how ridiculously fast this happened and failed to react in time. Right now, Nux had pinned her hands on top of her head, just like she did to him. Ember tried to resist, and soon Ember's eyes were widened in surprise again. "I am unable to overpower him. Let's study the case of victim becoming the hunter more closely, shall we?" A small devilish smile appeared on Nux's face, and he tore the thin black gown Ember was wearing. Ember couldn't believe what just happened. However, before she could even react or say anything, Nux sealed her lips. In the next instant, all the resistance Ember was showing died down, and she closed her eyes. Nux smiled and continued. This time, however, it was not a normal, inexperienced kiss. This time, Nux pushed his tongue inside her mouth and tasted every corner of it. With his free hand, Nux quickly removed his shirt, and then their naked bodies touched each other while the two of them shared an alluring kiss. 2 minutes later, Nux broke the kiss, and then the two of them separated with a thin silver lining of saliva joining their mouths. Nux licked his lips, breaking the saliva lining. Then he looked into Ember's beautiful red eyes and smiled. "How was it? Your first real kiss, I mean." Ember, who was still shocked by everything that was happening, finally came out of her reverie and questioned with an extremely flustered look on her face. "What are you doing?" Nux looked at Ember's flustered face, and his smile widened. playing the hunter." Saying that, Nux moved his head down to her chest, and with his teeth he pulled down Ember's black bra, revealing her big, soft, and fleshy mounds with a light pink cherry on the top. Ember's face turned red, while Nux enjoyed the sight of those precious mounds jiggling on the top of her chest. Nux moved his head again. Starting with a light kiss on Ember's lips, he went down, kissed her chin, then her nape. Then he continued to move down, and soon his lips appeared in front of Ember's light pink nipples. Ember, who was seeing everything from so close, could feel her heart beating quickly. Then she noticed a small smirk on Nux's face before he licked her nipple, and unknowingly a moan leaked out of her mouth. Nux didn't stop there and continued to lick her nipples as he was eating the most delicious dish in the world. He then buried his face inside her ample chest, feeling those soft breasts all over his face and at the same time hearing that rushed heartbeat. As Nux continued to stay in that strange position, Ember felt a weird itch inside her canals. She tried to move her body, however, with her hands pinned over her head, there was nothing much she could do. Again, she was surprised by how strong Nux's grip was. She wanted to ask him about this, however, right now, dealing with that strange itch was more important to her. Since her upper body wasn't restricted, Ember decided to move her lower body. Rubbing her thighs with each other, Ember tried to get rid of that itch. However, while moving her legs like that, her left thigh touched something. Something hard and warm. With Nux laying his head on her breasts and blocking her vision, Ember couldn't see what it was. However, the familiar warmth and size quickly gave it away. He's hard again. Her heart skipped a beat, and as if reacting to that, Nux's other hand moved and trailed down towards Ember's little sister. Nux knew that Ember couldn't see anything, therefore he made sure to touch every part of her body with his fingers gently and slowly so that she knows what is going to happen to her. Ba-dump, ba-dump, ba-dump. A small smile appeared on Nux's face after hearing her increased heartbeats. His efforts were paying off. His hands then slipped inside Ember's panty, and another moan leaked out of Ember's mouth. Damn, isn't she a little too sensitive? I haven't even touched her properly yet. Nux wondered inwardly, and with a sudden moment, he directly grabbed Ember's clitoris, and Ember moaned loudly. Hearing that loud moan, Nux's body started acting up. Veins popped up on his little brother's body. However, he just placed it on the top of Ember's soft and warm thigh and inserted his finger inside Ember's cave. Ember moaned, and then the exploration started. Ember was a lot more sensitive than normal. Her body reacted to his every little movement, therefore finding her weak points was a simple task. Once Nux noted down all her special points around her entry in his mind, his middle finger entered Ember's cave as well. Soon the two fingers started assaulting those special points crazily. At the same time, Nux's thumb teased and attacked Ember's clitoris, and Ember moaned loudly and moved her body in a strange way to cope with this intense pleasure that was attacking her body. What is this? She wondered in her head. Just why does it feel so good? Something like this never happened when I did it myself. So good. Ember moaned and moaned continuously. She believed that this was the peak of pleasure a human body is capable of feeling. She had finally reached the zenith, and as if going against that statement, Nux's face, which was just laying on top of her soft breasts, moved, and he started sucking her nipples fiercely, increasing the pleasure she was feeling. Nux continued to assault Ember's body, while at the same time he pressed his shaft on her soft tight and continued to rub it against it. Suddenly, he noticed Ember's walls moving strangely. He quickly realized that she was about to come. Therefore, to give her the best possible experience, he increased the speed at which his fingers were moving. Outside of her cave, he used his thumb to press on her clitoris, and at the same time he bit her nipple. With a very loud moan, Ember raised her back in the air, and squirt, she came, and squirt, squirt, continued to have a few more minor orgasms after the main one. Nux looked at her face that was expressing pure bliss, and his weapon twitched. "Shall we move to the final part now?" Nux asked with a smirk on his face.
"Shall we move to the final part now?" Nux questioned with a smirk on his face. "Final part?" Ember, who was still lost in her own world, questioned in a strange voice. Nux smirked. No one would believe that she was Ember Windstar if they saw her like this. Her milky white breasts moved up and down while she breathed heavily, beads of sweat that trailed down from her forehead as if she has fought a big way. The deep red blush on her face, increased heartbeat, and those misty red eyes. She did not match that vibrant, dominant, and wild General Ember Windstar at all. And seeing this sight, Nux's sadistic side urged him to see more. Nux then placed his rock-hard dick right in front of her entrance, and seeing this, Ember finally came out of her reverie. "What are you doing?" she questioned in a tired voice and a slightly panicked look on her face. "Completing the hunt," Nux answered with a playful smile, and with just one big thrust he entered her insides, and Ember's loudest moan till now was heard. Her back arched up, and she moved her legs around Nux's waist as if she was afraid he would run away. The mixture of pain and pleasure assaulted her body, and her blood leaked out of her pussy. Nux, on the other hand, was on cloud 9 right now. Ember's insides were squishy and warm. Her walls crawled around his little brother, massaging and trying to engulf every single part of it. This incredible tightness, Nux liked it a lot. Nux then waited for Ember's expression to return to normal, and only after he was sure that she was okay did he finally move again. This time, however, he moved as slowly as possible. Suddenly, Ember grabbed his hands and pulled his face towards her. With their face dangerously close to each other, Ember whispered, "I am not weak. You don't have to be so careful. Something like this doesn't even hurt." Ember understood what Nux was trying to do, and although she was grateful that he was thinking about her well-being, right now this wasn't what she wanted. "Just start with the good part already," Ember exclaimed. Nux looked at her and blinked a few times. Well, this was surprising. However, since he got the green signal, a big smile appeared on her face. "I didn't know you were such a big pervert, General Ember," Nux teased. Ember, however, just closed her eyes. "What did you say? Sorry, I fell asleep," Ember muttered without opening her eyes, and hearing those words, Nux's face twitched in annoyance. "Now you have done it." Then Nux quickly pulled his rod near the opening, and then, he drilled his dick right inside her pussy again. Ember moaned loudly, and at the same time she tightened her hug around Nux's neck. This time, Nux didn't care about anything, and moved his dick back, and then he drilled it inside again and again and again. The more he drilled, the louder Ember moaned, and soon her grip around Nux's neck got weaker. She was losing all her strength. Jolts and jolts of pleasure assaulted her body, making it more numb and eventually weaker. Her mind was already in a blank state right now, and all she could think of was to match her moans with Nux's drilling. Yes, that was all the general of an incredible army was thinking right now. However, Nux wasn't done yet. Feeling that it wasn't enough,
Nux grabbed Ember's left leg and placed it on his shoulder. Then he bent down, Ember's leg moved with him and continued to stretch further and further. Her cave opened up as well, and soon Nux grilled his rod even deeper. "Anne!" Ember's eyes widened as a giant jolt of pleasure assaulted her mind. She felt like Nux's rod has touched something it shouldn't have. Nux, however, didn't care and continued to thrust his rod inside Ember's body. This time, his hands didn't stay idle either. He grabbed Ember's squishy breasts gently, and then he started stroking that mountain gently while playing with that beautiful peak with his fingers. Pa, pa, pa. "Anne! Anne! Anne!" The pounding continued. The sounds of flesh meeting flesh and Ember's moans echoed inside the tent. Nux, on the other hand, was trying his best to not moan and continued to play with Ember's body. Soon, Ember's walls tightened. Nux quickly understood what was about to happen, and to make everything much more pleasurable, he thought of a small plan. Soon, a black-colored mist oozed from his body. It then moved towards Ember's eyes, taking away her vision. His hand trailed down to her entrance, his mouth moved close to Ember's ears, and then with his other hand he continued to play with her breasts. Then suddenly, "Aang!" He used every weapon at the same time. He bit her earlobe, pinched her nipple, pressed her clit, and drilled inside her with all the power he had. Ember, who was attacked by the waves of pleasure from all over her body, wasn't able to take it, and she moaned out loud. Her walls tightened to an unbearable extent, and she, squirt, 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 came non-stop. On the other side, Nux wasn't any better either. As Ember's insides tightened, the pleasure he was feeling rose by multiple folds, and, I'm coming!" His penis released its load inside Ember's body. His milk mixed with Ember's juice, and a strange smell spread inside the tent. Nux and Ember, however, didn't care. Right now, they just supported their body on each other and breathed heavily. "So, how was your first time?" Nux questioned, with sweat rolling over his forehead while he lay on top of Ember's soft body. He then looked at Ember, waiting for his reply, and soon he saw a small smile on Ember's face. "Well, the night isn't over yet, right?" Hearing that answer, a big smile appeared on Nux's face. "Of course not." Little Nux rose up again.
She was a scary opponent to fight against. However, this is only true for a normal cultivator. In front of a monster like Nux, things were different. The smoke that spread around the area after the explosion cleared up, and Ember narrowed her eyes as she glanced at the scene in front of him with a solemn look on her face. "Water element," she muttered as she noticed Nux standing in front of her. His entire body was covered with a layer of water shield that had cracks all over it. However, Nux, that was protected by the shield, was completely fine. "That was a precise use of water shield. It seems you have practiced it well and have good control over your element." "Good," Ember praised honestly, and Nux chuckled. Then he pointed his sword at Ember. His pose was quite similar to Ember's. Thinking that he was taunting her, Ember narrowed her eyes and decided to act again. However, suddenly, Nux disappeared. Clank! He then appeared right in front of Ember and slashed his sword at her. She blocked his attack with her sword. However, this time, Nux was the one who was overpowering her. Ember frowned. However, since she was currently in the battle, she didn't have much time to think and analyze this. Therefore, she did what was required and jumped back. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the same time, she also shot some wind blades at Nux to distract him. Wind blades weren't as strong as fireballs. However, they were faster, and dodging one in a battle was troublesome. Ember's plan was simple. She wanted Nux to stop there and block all the wind blades, and while he's doing it, she would regain her balance and would prepare for her next attack.
This time, however, things didn't go as she planned, and Nux's next actions surprised Ember to her core. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Wind blades formed behind Nux, and soon they were shot towards the wind blades made by Ember, and the opposing wind blades canceled each other perfectly. Wind elements. He has affinities with 2 elements as well, Ember realized. However, this was just the beginning. Nux then appeared in front of her and attacked. Clank. Their swords clashed with each other, and Ember jumped back again. However, while she was jumping back, she noticed that the ground behind her had turned into sharp spikes. E-element! Ember's eyes widened in surprise. E-element! She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Then she shifted the weight of her body to the other leg and avoided this situation with just a small mark on her shoe. However, right as she landed on the ground, she felt that the temperature around her has changed. She then looked in front of her and… E-element! Her eyes widened in horror. A big wave of fire was moving towards her, and she had no way to defend against it. In the end, Ember could only embrace herself for the impact and swung her sword toward the flames coming towards her. Kaboom! An explosion sounded. Ember's body flew back and fell on the ground. She was hurt. Her armor was burnt and was falling apart. Her clothes behind her armor had burnt as well. Even her white skin had a few marks. It could be said that her condition was bad. However, she wasn't done yet. She still had what it takes to win this fight. Therefore, Ember moved and then stood up. Or so she wanted to. However, before she could, a sword was placed on her neck. Ember then looked at the man who was standing right behind her head. That was my strongest wide-area attack, Fire Slash. Cool, right? Nux questioned with a small smile on his face, and soon Ember realized something. Fire. Fire element as well. Water, wind, earth, and fire. You have an affinity with all 4 elements. Nux chuckled. I do. Ember, however, couldn't digest this. How is this possible? People with affinity for 2 elements at the same time are rare. I have never heard of someone who has an affinity for 3. How do you have an affinity for all 4 of these elements? I'm a special case. Nux's smile widened, and then he continued. Well, a normal person can't have Ember Windstar all for himself, now can he? Ember turned silent, and soon she realized another thing. She lost. She lost a battle against an expert stage cultivator. And as if confirming that fact, Nux smiled. Ember Windstar, the opponent's sword is on your neck. Do you accept your defeat? With a bitter look on her face, Ember answered, I do. Nux continued with the same smile. Winner takes all. According to this statement, I, the winner of the duel, can demand anything I want, correct? Yes, that is correct, Ember answered with a lost look on her face. She still couldn't accept her defeat, and in her mind she was repeating the battle and was trying to find ways to win. However, Nux's next actions brought her out of her reverie. He moved his sword from her neck, then stored it inside his storage ring. Then he extended his hands towards her. Ember took the hand, and Nux pulled her up. Then a healing potion appeared in Nux's hand. He then looked at Ember, and his smile widened. Then from now onwards, you, Ember Windstar, will be mine and mine alone. Nux quickly drank the healing potion, and then, E-element! He sealed Ember's lips, bringing her out of her reverie. Ember then drank the healing potion directly from Nux's mouth. Once the potion was finished, the 2 of them started kissing and exchanging their saliva. Nux's tongue moved wildly and explored Ember's mouth, while his hands moved towards her butt and he pulled her close to him. 2 minutes later, the kiss finally ended, and then Nux questioned, Do you accept it? Can I deny it? Ember questioned with a playful smile on her face. "The loser has no right to deny the winner's demand. From now on, whether you want it or not, you are mine." Nux's golden eyes shined brightly, and then he sealed Ember's lips again. This time, Ember reciprocated as well, and her tongue moved as well. Their tongues clashed with each other for supremacy, rolling around and licking each other. Nux, however, cheated and started kneading Ember's butt. "Oomph!" A small muffled moan leaked out of Ember's mouth, and soon Nux's tongue dominated the match. After sharing a 3-minute-long kiss, the two of them separated, and then Ember said, "You actually won against me, Nux." A satisfied smile appeared on Nux's face. Hearing the word boy again and again was getting annoying. He felt that the distance between the two of them was too far. Maybe Ember understood that and changed her way of addressing him. "I told you I would," Nux nodded. "Were you that confident in your strength, or am I just too weak for you?" Ember questioned. Nux didn't know how to answer this question. However, Ember wasn't done yet. "And why are you stronger than a normal expert stage cultivator? How were you, an expert stage cultivator, able to push away me, a king stage cultivator? This is just not possible. Even having an affinity with 2 elements at the same time doesn't explain this. Just how—" "Don't bother." Suddenly, Ember heard a voice, and a frown appeared on her face. This voice. Then she turned around, and there she saw Thyra leaning on a tree with a casual look on her face. Seeing that she had gained her attention, Thyra continued, "Don't use normal standards to judge him. He's different." "Why are you here?" Ember questioned with a flustered look on her face. Seeing that look, Thyra smiled inwardly. "Heh, I can finally get back to you, General Ember." "Why would I not be here? How can I miss the scene after which another woman would become my sister?" Ember's face turned red. You already knew about it?" "Of course I did. You think my man would hide anything from me?" Thyra smiled and then continued, "Woman, the moment you tried to tease him, your fate was sealed." "Tisk, tisk. Why do you make it sound like I'm a bad person?" Suddenly, Nux snorted. "You are a bad person, Nux," Thyra muttered. "Why are you acting like you already knew that I would lose this match?" Suddenly, Ember questioned. "Huh? Isn't that obvious? Because I did know the results already. There is no way you can defeat Nux." Thyra answered as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Wha—" Ember wanted to question, however Nux interrupted. "Thyra, wear your mask. Ember, wear another coat. This one is all torn up." While saying that, Nux wore his mask. "Huh?" Ember frowned. She then looked at Nux before her eyes fell on Thyra, and she was surprised that Thyra had already covered her face with a mask and was surprised. Then she copied Thyra and did as Nux said. Step, step, step. Then Ember, Thyra, and Nux heard the sound of footsteps. Someone was coming towards them.
"General Ember!" The soldier saluted. "Why are you here? I told you not to follow me, right?" Ember questioned with a frown on her face. She knew that her soldiers won't dare to disobey her orders, not until something that they can't handle on their own happens. "General Ember, Lord Finkelstein is here," the soldier reported, and as soon as Ember heard that name, her face turned solemn. "Finkelstein? Who is he?" Nux questioned with a frown on his face. Ember doesn't show this type of expression why often. Nux was sure that something was wrong with this Finkelstein guy. Ember turned towards Nux and answered, "He is a troublesome man to deal with." "Huh? How can there be someone more troublesome than me?" Nux's ego was hurt. And hearing those words, Ember shook her head in helplessness. She looked at Thyra for help, however the woman was busy nodding her head, agreeing with Nux's statement. "Whatever, let's just meet him."
In the end, Ember just shook her head and gave up. She then turned towards the soldier and ordered, "Let's go." "Yes, General." The four of them then left the plain fields and returned to the army camp. There, they saw a man wearing lavish clothes standing in front of the 3 deputy generals of the Woods dynasty's army with an arrogant look on his face. "Why is she not here yet? Does she not respect the dynast of this dynasty?" The man questioned in anger. "Don't act like you were the dynast of this dynasty." Lawrence, one of the deputy generals, snorted. "Deputy General Lawrence, I may not be the dynast of this dynasty, however I still hold the message from the dynast, which means that right now I represent the dynast himself. And even if I am not representing him, you are not someone who can talk to me like that. Know your place." Finkelstein narrowed his eyes as he glanced at Lawrence. "As expected of the soldiers who work under that Ember, they are all rude and useless." Finkelstein snorted. Lawrence gritted his teeth. He wanted to lash out and attack this man standing in front of him, however, he could not do it. This man was a king stage cultivator. He was stronger than him and comparable to the general. Of course, Lawrence wasn't scared. However, if he was the one to attack first, this bastard might use that as a reason to cause trouble for the general. This was something Lawrence cannot accept. Therefore, all he could do was grit his teeth and stay silent. Seeing this, a big, wide smile appeared on Finkelstein's face, and he continued, "Ha! Rude and useless. I guess I should add coward to that list as well." Lawrence clenched his fist in anger, and the other soldiers who surrounded them felt uncomfortable as well. However, they didn't have to stay that way for long. "Did you just call the soldiers serving the army of the Woods dynasty useless?" Ember questioned with a curious look on her face. Finkelstein turned towards Ember and scowled. ... However, he did not have any answers to her question, and seeing that, Ember smiled. "What happened? Why are you not answering my question? Did you perhaps say those words by mistake? Do you want to apologize for that?" The way a subordinate acts reflects on how a leader deals with different situations. If your subordinates are so easily cornered, it tells a lot about you as a leader. The soldiers of our army may not be useless, rude, or cowards. However, with you as their leader, they certainly look like one. Ember narrowed her eyes. "I'm just asking this for confirmation, but did you just call me a coward?" A ferocious aura was released from Ember's body. The suffocating aura affected everyone around the area, and Finkelstein was no exception as well. He took a step back and didn't say anything. ... Seeing this scene, Nux, who was standing behind Ember, chuckled. "And he called our soldiers coward." Thyra didn't even try to control herself and laughed out loud. Seeing this, the rest of the soldiers smiled as well. "And who are you?" Not liking Nux's comment one bit, Finkelstein questioned as he narrowed his eyes in anger. "Why do I have to answer you?" Nux questioned. "Because I'm someone who can kill you with my eyes closed," Finkelstein answered arrogantly. Hearing those words, Nux chuckled. "Oh God, I'm so very scared." Again, the soldiers started chuckling, and this time the deputy generals started sympathizing with Finkelstein. They were in the same position as him a few days ago, after all. Finkelstein already started hating this man in front of him. "Aren't you a little too arrogant for someone who is just an expert stage cultivator?" At least I have the guts to fight against cultivators who are in the same cultivation stage as me." Nux smiled, and a vein popped up on Finkelstein's forehead. In the end, he couldn't control himself anymore, and a sword appeared in his hands. "That's it! I gave you enough chances already." He roared in rage. However, just as he was about to dash towards Nux, a sword appeared in Ember's hand. Seeing that, Finkelstein paused. He might act all mighty and great, however, in his heart, he knew that he was no match for Ember, even though they both are king-stage cultivators. He might be able to fight against her for a while, however, he knew that eventually he would lose. Not only that, but this was Ember's territory. He can't act recklessly here. Even if he does defeat her, there is no guarantee that others won't attack him. Therefore, Finkelstein had to hold back. Actually, in truth, he doesn't have to hold back at all. He might not be able to defeat Ember through his strength, however, that doesn't mean that he cannot use any other means. He could always use some other means, after all. Thinking about it, a small smile appeared on Finkelstein's face. Whatever, let's not talk about useless stuff anymore. I'm here for something much more important.
Whatever, let's not talk about useless stuff anymore. I am here for something much more important. Seeing that smile on Finkelstein's face, Nux narrowed his eyes in doubt. For some reason, he did not like that smile at all. And as if she was thinking the same thing, Ember's expression wasn't good either. "What is it?" she questioned. "It is the response from the Dynast to your recent letter," Finkelstein muttered with a big smile on his face, and then the ring on his finger shined, and an envelope that had Dynast's insignia printed on it appeared in his hand. Ember and the other soldiers present here bowed their heads and placed their right hands on their chests. Nux looked around with a frown. Thyra then looked at him and nodded. The two of them then followed the other soldiers and bowed their heads as well. With a solemn look on his face, Finkelstein looked at Ember and muttered, "The topic of this letter is a little sensitive. Order everyone else to leave." This time, Ember didn't debate about this either. She had talked about the Emperor's stage cultivator in her previous letter. The topic of this letter was indeed a bit too sensitive for everyone else to hear. Therefore, she nodded her head and turned toward Lawrence. Lawrence understood what she wanted and turned around. "Everyone, I would be the one training you all today. Show me your spirit." "Yeah!" The soldiers roared together, and then everyone followed Lawrence. Ember then looked at Nux and nodded. Nux nodded back, and then he and Thyra turned around. Ember then turned towards Finkelstein and muttered, "Follow me." Finkelstein nodded. "I don't like that smile on that man's face." As they were leaving, Thyra muttered. Nux nodded. "I don't like that as well. Don't worry, I'm not planning to leave just yet." Instantly, Thyra understood what Nux was going to do and nodded. The two of them then left the area, and once Nux was far enough, he activated his conceal and returned to Ember's room. There, he saw Finkelstein opening the letter, and then he started reading it with a wide smile on his face. "To General Ember Windfall, I have received your reports, and I only have one comment on this matter. If you can't lead the army anymore, just say it directly. Don't make up useless stories. The Emperor of the Solid Earth Kingdom making a move on his own? Do you think it is a joke? Can you be more absurd? Do you even know what you're talking about? Do you think you are strong enough to survive if your opponent is the Emperor? Who do you think you are? And why would the Emperor move for someone as insignificant as you? Do you think he has that much time in his hands? You fail to calculate the enemy's moves. Your spies are unable to enter the Solid Earth Kingdom. You do not have any information in your hands, and in this bad situation, all you're doing is coming up with absurd stories like that. Do you not want to be a general anymore? If that is the case, you can come forward and say it right to my face. I have better options who can surely do a better job than you are doing. Ember Windstar, keep this in your mind. This is your last warning. If you come up with something as absurd as this again, or if you fail to show me the results again, I will take away your position and will give it to someone who actually deserves it. As for the help you asked for regarding this matter, I believe I don't have to say anything anymore. Ellinger Woods, the Dynast of the Woods Dynasty." Finkelstein then rolled the letter respectfully, and the letter disappeared from his hands. Then he looked at Ember, his solemn expression turned into a wide smile, and he snorted. "Tisk tisk, to think you would come up with something so absurd. No wonder the Dynast is so angry. I knew you were not that good. However, I had no idea that you were that useless. This is truly shocking."
Hearing those words coming from his mouth, Ember, who was still a little doubtful, was now sure. Thinking that Finkelstein, a king stage cultivator, coming here on his own just to deliver this message was absurd, he must have another goal in his mind. And now the goal was revealed. Him coming here while carrying this letter meant only one thing. The dynast was sending him to make a statement. The replacement that the dynast was talking about in this letter was this man right in front of her. The dynast and Finkelstein, the two of them were in this together. To think you would go this far, Ember thought inwardly. However, outwardly she didn't show any other expression. Seeing this, Finkelstein pouted. He wanted to see despair and hopelessness on this woman's face. I hope you do a better job next time, General Ember. Don't trouble our dynast with something so absurd and childish next time. You're a mature king stage cultivator. You should understand the weight of responsibility that is on your shoulders and consider everything before you make a move. He guided. Of course, he wasn't actually guiding. He just wanted to tease Ember. Ember, however, didn't care about it at all. Now that you have delivered your letter, I believe you should return. You're a busy man, after all, right? Finkelstein's mouth twitched in frustration. However, in the end, he just nodded. I will take my leave then. Act all you want, you bitch. I would like to see your expression once your position is taken away from you. Then you will show me the expression that I long to see on your face. An evil smile appeared on Finkelstein's face as he left Ember's room. After he left, Nux appeared right in front of Ember and questioned with an extremely joyful face. Is the relationship between you and the dynast of the dynasty bad?
Is the relationship between you and the dynast of the dynasty bad? Nux questioned with an extremely joyful look on his face. Seeing that face, Ember frowned. Why do you look so happy after hearing that? Nux's face then turned solemn and he questioned. It seems that the relation between you and the dynast is not very healthy. Is that true? Ember's face twitched when she noticed how quickly Nux's expression changed. However, in the end, she just shook his head and answered, Yes, you are correct. The relationship between me and the dynast isn't good. Why? Nux questioned out of curiosity. Ember then glanced at Nux for a while, and then she answered. It started 10 years ago when the previous dynast of the kingdom died of illness, and his oldest son took over and became the new dynast of the dynasty. The new dynast was strong, thoughtful, and mature. However, he had one weakness, his extreme lust. After I returned to the capital to greet the new dynast, I caught that man's eye, and he asked me to be his woman. I, of course, rejected that offer. My condition was simple. Defeat me and ask what you want from me. However, since the dynast is only an expert stage cultivator, he wasn't strong enough to defeat me as you did. Neither was he brave enough to challenge me, nor was he patient enough to wait and become stronger in order to defeat. He chose the easiest way possible, and that was to use his newly gained power and force me into marrying him. However, I, who has been serving as the general of the dynasty for so long, had a considerable amount of influence as well. The dynast soon realized that his methods won't work on me, and since then he has been holding a grudge against me. This is not the first time something like this has happened. He had tried to get his revenge on me before as well. Sometimes he would cut short our food supply, sometimes he would ask us to do impossible missions with less manpower or something like that. His goal was simple. He wanted to take away my position as the general of the dynasty, and once my influence weakens, he would use that chance to force me into marrying him. However, I did not give in. Me and my soldiers still charged through and passed all his trials without giving him any chance to complain. Things were going well, but I never expected that the dynast would take the involvement of the emperor stage cultivator so lightly and use it to pressure me again. This is simply ridiculous. He is not thinking about the lives of the soldiers serving the dynasty at all. Ember smashed the table in front of him in anger. Nux, who heard everything, frowned. This story wasn't really surprising. A perverted ruler going after a beautiful woman, it was a pretty common story. Heck, with how beautiful Ember is, he could completely relate with the dynast.
Of course, his steps were too extreme, and he was a moron, but still, they both had the same initial thought. Ember was beautiful, and they both wanted her all for themselves. He could understand what the dynast was thinking. What he couldn't understand was what Ember was thinking. If the dynast treated you so unfairly, then why did you not quit your position yourself? Won't I just be giving him exactly what he wants if I do that? Ember questioned. Huh? Nux did not understand. There's a reason why the dynast wants to take away my position so desperately. That bastard is playing a long game. After my position is gone, a few years later my achievements would be forgotten and my influence will weaken. Once my influence is not strong enough to protect me anymore, the dynast would pressure me into marrying him, and I won't be able to reject him. So giving up on my position is just playing right into his hands. Ember explained. Hearing this, Nux's frown deepened. Is it worth going through so many troubles for? Why not just leave the dynasty and settle somewhere else? Settle somewhere else? Where? In any other kingdom? Do you think any kingdom would agree to let the general of the enemy nation live in their land? Nux questioned. Why not hide your identity? Nux questioned. Again, do you think I, as a king stage cultivator, can hide my identity so easily? There are those wandering cultivators, right? The cultivators who live in seclusion, avoiding all the troublesome situations and only getting involved in something that actually interests them. Can't you live like that? Ember shook her head. If I was a wandering cultivator from the start, I would have been able to do that. However, I am the general of the Woods dynasty. There are certain things that I know that a normal wandering cultivator shouldn't know. The enemy nations would try their best to capture me and extract the information they want. And my own nation? Well, since the ruler of the nation wants me, there aren't many places where I can hide and live freely. A long sigh then escaped Ember's mouth, and she continued. In the end, being the general of the army, defending the dynasty, and strengthening my influence is the only way for me to live safely and independently. Nux turned silent and started thinking about everything more deeply. Today, he finally realized how strong the ruler of the nation is. Even though he's just an expert stage cultivator, he has the power to trouble a strong king stage cultivator like Ember, and he's not even using his trump card yet. Teacher Arvina, you asked me why I wanted to become the king, right? You asked me what my goal is, right? I think I finally found the answer to that question. A strange shine lit up in Nux's beautiful eyes. He then looked at Ember and questioned, Ember Windstar, do you trust me? Is the relationship between you and the dynast of the dynasty bad? Nux questioned with an extremely joyful look on his face. Seeing that face, Ember frowned. Why do you look so happy after hearing that? Oh, Nux's face then turned solemn and he questioned. It seems that the relation between you and the dynast is not very healthy. Is that true? Ember's face twitched when she noticed how quickly Nux's expression changed. However, in the end, she just shook his head and answered, Yes, you are correct. The relationship between me and the dynast isn't good. Why? Nux questioned out of curiosity. Ember then glanced at Nux for a while, and then she answered. It started 10 years ago when the previous dynast of the kingdom died of illness, and his oldest son took over and became the new dynast of the dynasty. The new dynast was strong, thoughtful, and mature. However, he had one weakness, his extreme lust. After I returned to the capital to greet the new dynast, I caught that man's eye, and he asked me to be his woman. I, of course, rejected that offer. My condition was simple. Defeat me and ask what you want from me. However, since the dynast is only an expert stage cultivator, he wasn't strong enough to defeat me as you did. Neither was he brave enough to challenge me, nor was he patient enough to wait and become stronger in order to defeat. He chose the easiest way possible, and that was to use his newly gained power and force me into marrying him. However, I, who has been serving as the general of the dynasty for so long, had a considerable amount of influence as well. The dynast soon realized that his methods won't work on me, and since then he has been holding a grudge against me.
This is not the first time something like this has happened. He had tried to get his revenge on me before as well. Sometimes he would cut short our food supply, sometimes he would ask us to do impossible missions with less manpower or something like that. His goal was simple. He wanted to take away my position as the general of the dynasty, and once my influence weakens, he would use that chance to force me into marrying him. However, I did not give in. Me and my soldiers still charged through and passed all his trials without giving him any chance to complain. Things were going well, but I never expected that the dynast would take the involvement of the Emperor stage cultivator so lightly and use it to pressure me again. This is simply ridiculous. He is not thinking about the lives of the soldiers serving the dynasty at all. Ember smashed the table in front of him in anger. Nux, who heard everything, frowned. This story wasn't really surprising. A perverted ruler going after a beautiful woman, it was a pretty common story. Heck, with how beautiful Ember is, he could completely relate with the dynast. Of course, his steps were too extreme, and he was a moron, but still, they both had the same initial thought. Ember was beautiful, and they both wanted her all for themselves. He could understand what the dynast was thinking. What he couldn't understand was what Ember was thinking. If the dynast treated you so unfairly, then why did you not quit your position yourself? Won't I just be giving him exactly what he wants if I do that? Ember questioned. Huh? Nux did not understand. There's a reason why the dynast wants to take away my position so desperately. That bastard is playing a long game. After my position is gone, a few years later my achievements would be forgotten and my influence will weaken. Once my influence is not strong enough to protect me anymore, the dynast would pressure me into marrying him, and I won't be able to reject him. So giving up on my position is just playing right into his hands. Ember explained. Hearing this, Nux's frown deepened. Is it worth going through so many troubles for? Why not just leave the dynasty and settle somewhere else? Settle somewhere else? Where? In any other kingdom? Do you think any kingdom would agree to let the general of the enemy nation live in their land? Nux questioned. Why not hide your identity? Nux questioned. Again, do you think I, as a king stage cultivator, can hide my identity so easily? There are those wandering cultivators, right? The cultivators who live in seclusion, avoiding all the troublesome situations and only getting involved in something that actually interests them. Can't you live like that? Ember shook her head. If I was a wandering cultivator from the start, I would have been able to do that. However, I am the general of the Woods dynasty. There are certain things that I know that a normal wandering cultivator shouldn't know. The enemy nations would try their best to capture me and extract the information they want. And my own nation? Well, since the ruler of the nation wants me, there aren't many places where I can hide and live freely. A long sigh then escaped Ember's mouth, and she continued. In the end, being the general of the army, defending the dynasty, and strengthening my influence is the only way for me to live safely and independently. Nux turned silent and started thinking about everything more deeply. Today, he finally realized how strong the ruler of the nation is. Even though he's just an expert stage cultivator, he has the power to trouble a strong king stage cultivator like Ember, and he's not even using his trump card yet. Teacher Arvina, you asked me why I wanted to become the king, right? You asked me what my goal is, right? I think I finally found the answer to that question. A strange shine lit up in Nux's beautiful eyes. He then looked at Ember and questioned, Ember Windstar, do you trust me?
Ember Windstar, do you trust me? Huh? Hearing the sudden question, Ember frowned. Come on, you belong to me now, Ember. You trust me with all your heart, right? Ember's face momentarily turned red before turning back to normal, and she questioned, What are you planning? Well, I'll tell you after you answer my question. Nux smiled. You are annoying, Ember complained. So, do you trust me? It doesn't matter if I trust you or not. I am yours now. You have the responsibility to take care of me. You can do whatever you like. I will follow you, Ember answered. I didn't know you were the shy type. Nux muttered. Ember's face twitched, and she retorted in anger. "Are you going to tell me what you are thinking or not?" All right. You don't have to be so aggressive. I will tell you." Nux chuckled, and then he revealed his plan. "Let's run away." "Huh?" Ember frowned. ... Nux, however, did not explain any further and continued to look at Ember with a smile on his face. "Didn't I just tell you the problem? I can't run away. I don't have anywhere else to go." "You do not have to worry about that. I have a perfect place where you can live without any troubles at all. You just have to agree and follow me," Nux replied. ... Ember turned silent and started thinking. ... What about my soldiers? In the end, she voiced her worries. They will be going against an army that is a lot stronger than them. If I am not here with them, many of them would lose their life. I don't want that to happen. Things would be worse if you stay here, Ember. Currently, there is no way for you and your army to win. If the two nations clash, your defeat is inevitable. There are 7 king stage cultivators in the opponent's camp, and I'm not even talking about the Emperor right now. If your army wants to win this war, the only way is to seek the dynast's help. However, with your relationship with the dynast, that man would never help you and your soldiers, and they will be the ones to suffer because of this. Right now, the only thing you can do is leave. This way, you will be safe, and the dynast would be forced to help the army, since the newly appointed general would be his subordinate. ... Ember turned silent. "So the real problem is me?" she questioned. "No, the real problem is not you, Ember. The real problem is the dynast. However, since the dynast holds the power, we can't go against him right now. We can only back down," Nux answered. Ember nodded, and then she spoke. "I understand. I will leave with you. However, we won't be leaving today." This time, the determination in Ember's eyes was unwavering. She won't back off, and Nux knew him. However, he was curious. "Why do you say that?" "I will write a resignation letter to the dynast and will only leave once the next general arrives. I absolutely won't leave my soldiers leaderless for even a single day. I don't know when those bastards will attack us again." Nux looked into Ember's fiery red eyes and couldn't help but smile. "All right, we will do as you say, but the talk with the deputy generals, you would only tell them what I tell you, okay?" "Deal." Ember nodded, and then she started writing the letter. ... "I need your help." "Leave it on me." Thyra nodded, and then she walked towards the 3 deputy generals who were standing together discussing something with solemn looks on their faces. I did not like the expression of Finkelstein's face when he left. The 3 deputy generals looked at her, and Lawrence nodded. I did not like that as well. Thyra continued. "The general hasn't come outside as well. I'm worried." Lawrence looked towards Ember's room and narrowed his eyes. "Don't worry, she will come out soon." "I know that." Thyra nodded and continued talking with the 3 deputy generals. Time passed, and soon Ember walked out of her room with a solemn expression on her face. Thyra and the 3 deputy generals rushed towards her. "General, what happened? What did the dynast's letter say?" Lawrence questioned. Ember then looked at the 4 people in front of her, and then she answered. "He refused to help us in any way possible." Lawrence frowned. "Why do you have that expression on your face then? Hadn't we already expected that?" "There is something that you are not telling us, isn't there?" Thyra narrowed her eyes and questioned. Lawrence and the other 2 deputy generals frowned as well. Seeing that she couldn't hide it anymore, Ember sighed. "The dynast has ordered me to give up my position as the general of the army and return." "What?" The 3 deputy generals shouted in shock. "Why would he do that? Is he out of his mind? Where else would he find a better general than you? Wait, is it that Finkelstein bastard? No, I would never serve that bastard as my leader. I agree, I would rather die. The deputy generals showed their rejection. However, Lawrence, he was oddly silent. General, what is it? Ember questioned as she turned towards Lawrence. Is it related to that incident? Yes, Ember nodded, and the three deputy generals turned silent. That bastard. He still wants to force you into marrying him. This is unacceptable. Yes, I don't accept this. I would leave the army as well. I don't want to serve this dynasty anymore. Yes, I will follow the general as well. Indeed. No, I won't allow it. Ember, however, shook her head. Why? Remember, your family is still living in the dynasty. Don't do something stupid. It might harm your family in the future. I am different. My family has already abandoned me. ... The deputy generals turned silent. What will you do now? After a long silence, Lawrence questioned. I can't return to the capital. You know what would happen if I do that. Then where are you planning to go? She will be going with me.
She will be going with me. Lawrence and the other two deputy generals frowned as their eyes fell on Nux, who was walking towards them. Why would General Ember go with you? A deputy general couldn't hold himself back and questioned out loud. Hearing his question, Nux smiled. He then grabbed Ember's hand, crossed his fingers with hers, and smiled. Well, you don't have to know about it. Nux tried to shake it off. However, this little action of his left a huge impact on the three deputy generals' minds, especially when they saw that General Ember wasn't resisting Nux's touch at all. You two... Lawrence didn't know what to say. Nux, however, understood what he wanted to ask and smiled. What you are thinking is current. I and Ember are one now. And as if to prove what he said, Nux moved his head and kissed Ember's cheeks right in front of them. The deputy generals couldn't believe what they were seeing. This man was bold enough to kiss General Ember, and the general just stood there without doing anything. Her reaction to this entire situation was just the initial shock and a small blush on her face that disappeared as soon as it appeared. Other than that, General Ember did not react at all. Her reaction proved it. This man wearing black clothes and a mask on his face wasn't lying. He actually managed to make the fiery killer his woman. Not only that, but he was even flexing about it in front of everyone as he wants. You are just an expert stage cultivator. How did you defeat the general? Ember Windstar is a very popular woman inside the Woods dynasty, and many men had tried to win her heart. Therefore, her condition of winning against her in order to win her heart was very popular, and a lot of people knew about it. It was the only reason why flocks of men trying to woo Ember didn't surround them every single day. Hearing this question, the other two deputy generals got curious as well and looked at Nux with doubtful looks on their faces. This guy defeated General Ember? Is he that strong? It doesn't look like this. Did he cheat? That might be the case. The deputy generals then narrowed their eyes and looked at Nux suspiciously. Nux, however, just chuckled and continued. Tss, you guys wouldn't understand. That condition was just a farce arranged by Ember to keep the men she didn't like away from her. It acted as a reason that she could use in order to reject the men she didn't like. And Nux then looked at Ember and smiled. He moved his hand from her hand and placed it around her waist, pulling her close to him. And wait for the man she actually likes. Does that mean... Yes, you are right. I did not defeat Ember. I just impressed her and managed to win her heart. Nux answered as he kissed Ember's cheeks again. The three deputy generals were shocked, and at the same time, they were extremely jealous. Just how could someone else do what they were trying to do for so long? This is not fair. Also, why was the general acting so meekly? She hasn't said a word from the moment Nux appeared. She's just standing there, blushing like a teenage girl while trying to keep a straight face. This was so annoying and heartbreaking.
aren't we going off topic here? While everyone present here was lost in their thoughts, Thyra, who was extremely jealous of Ember right now, spoke with a spiteful look on her face. Right, Thyra is correct. We don't have the time to discuss it right now. Ember, who thought of Thyra as the only light of escape in the darkness of embarrassment, quickly jumped on this opportunity and changed the topic. Knowing exactly what was going on inside Ember and Thyra's minds, Nux just smiled, and then he continued. So, as I was saying, Ember would be leaving with me. According to the letter sent by the dynast, the new general would come within a week. We three would be staying in this army camp until the next general returns, and once he's here, we will leave. Don't. The three deputy generals turned silent. Then the deputy general named Hasten turned towards Nux and warned him, "You better take good care of the general, or don't expect to live an easy life. We three will come after you with everything we have if anything happened to her." He? Do you think that my Ember would need anyone's protection? Believe me, the only reason I'm taking her away with me is because I want to keep her all to myself. As for protecting her, I don't think there's anyone else who can do a better job in that than Ember herself. Nux smiled, and hearing those words, Ember smiled as well. "Where are you going to stay?" Lawrence questioned. Nux, however, shook his head. "I think it would be better if you don't know about it." Lawrence narrowed his eyes. "Are you thinking that we would betray the general just because she quit her position?" "No, I trust Ember's judgment. She placed her trust in you, so I'm sure you won't betray her. However, I still think that the fewer people know about it, the better it will be. It's actually for your own good. I hope you understand." After thinking about it for a while, Lawrence nodded. He and the other two deputy generals stepped back. Nux looked at the three deputy generals who had gloomy looks on their faces and smiled widely. "All right, you guys, don't be so down. Your general would stay here for the next whole week. Won't you make this the most memorable week for her?" The deputy general's eyes started shining brightly. "Yes, this is it. Show your excitement. Show your spirit." Nux clenched his fist as if he was trying to motivate the gloomy deputy generals in front of him. Then, however, a playful smirk appeared on his face, and he continued, "However, try not to disturb us too much. You see, we two just found out about our love for each other and would like to explore it more deeply. Make sure to not interrupt us while we spend lovey-dovey time with each other, okay?" Nux smiled very politely, and the three deputy generals who heard his words wanted nothing more than to kill this guy right here, right now. Even Ember was shocked by how shameless Nux was. However, she wouldn't deny it. She was actually looking forward to those lovey-dovey times. Thinking about it, Ember's pussy twitched a little and a small smile appeared on her face. She really was looking forward to the blissful week that she is about to spend together with her man. Foo. This is going to be a long week, indeed. Congratulations to the host for rising to a king stage mana cultivator from an expert stage mana cultivator. Blank points plus 40. Congratulations to the host for rising to a king stage body cultivator from an expert stage body cultivator. STR plus 8. AGL plus 8. VIT plus 8. STM plus 8, DEF plus 8. Blank points plus 20. Regeneration unlocked. Name, Nux Leander. Age, 18. Mana cultivation, King. Body cultivation, King. Physique, Devouring Mist Demon Physique, Advanced, plus. Talent, High. LVL, 50 to 60. HP 1600 over 1600, MP 2100 over 2100, STR 134 to 162, AGL 144 to 172, VIT 132 to 160, STM 171 to 199, INT 180 to 210, DEF 131 to 159. Blank points 99 to 189. Finally. Nux thought inwardly as he looked at so many messages that had appeared in front of him. A small, satisfied smile appeared on his face. He finally did it. He had finally become a king stage cultivator. Nux's eyes then fell on Ember, who was sleeping next to him with a small smile on her face. Seeing her breasts that were touching each other while being sandwiched by her two arms while Ember slept soundly aroused him to no extent. "Ugh, this figure, it is just too delicious." Nux groaned inwardly as he felt his dick twitching again. He had just orgasmed around 5 or 6 times and was completely dried out. However, even after that, he still wanted to just grab this woman in front of her and devour her. Ember was just that enticing. With her long black-red hair that contrasted well with her white skin, her calm expression while she is asleep that is completely opposite to the wild and dominant expression that she usually has on her face, those arousing abs on her waist, and that dangerously pretty face, no man would be able to resist himself in front of a beauty like this, especially when that man's jizz was leaking out of her cave like that. Nux then moved closer to Ember and hugged her body. Her soft breasts touched his hard chest, while his dick was surrounded by the warmth of her thighs. He felt incredible. This is amazing. Nux sighed contentedly. Ember, who was sleeping peacefully, let out a strange voice as her hands moved towards Nux's back. She unknowingly pressed her breasts on Nux's chest and placed her head on his shoulders. Nux's hand moved towards her perky butt, and he started kneading them gently. A soft moan leaked out of Ember's mouth, and the smile on her face widened. She was feeling good. However, right now, she was too tired to wake up. She had orgasmed countless times after all. Nux understood that as well. Therefore, after hugging this beautiful woman in front of him and placing himself in a comfortable position, he finally looked back at the messages in front of him. Regeneration. Nux focused on his newly gained ability, and then another screen appeared in front of him. Regeneration. Effects. Doubles the regeneration of the host. That's it? Nux questioned inwardly. This was the vaguest ability description he has ever read. Doubles the regeneration. Regeneration of what? Why is that not mentioned here? Why in the hell just happened? Why is the description so vague? Nux couldn't understand. He had a few guesses in his mind about what the ability is actually about. However, if he was being honest, he was a little disappointed. No matter what this ability does, in the end, it is only a support ability. Nux actually wanted an ability that focused on attack power, something strong enough to hurt an emperor. Actually, Nux hoped that the ability he would receive after becoming a king stage cultivator would be his key to dealing with the emperor stage cultivators in the future. However, today, his hopes were crushed. This will be complicated, Nux thought with a solemn look on his face. They are here. While Nux was thinking about all this, he suddenly heard a voice. He then narrowed his eyes, and a frown appeared on his already solemn face. Then a small smile appeared on his face. Oh well, it seems that we can finally return. He shouldn't be sad. He would be meeting his women soon. He hasn't seen them for more than a week, after all. They must be angry.
Soldiers of the Woods Dynasty, gather here as soon as possible. Early in the morning, while most of the soldiers were busy with their own work, a loud sound was heard, and it attracted everyone's attention. This is an order. The confused soldiers then moved quickly, and soon everyone gathered around 3 men who were looking at everything with wide smiles on their faces. Seeing that everyone has gathered, one of the 3 men stepped forward, and the coat he was wearing fluttered due to the wind. Many soldiers frowned when they saw the coat that the man was wearing. However, every single one of them knew who this man was. Therefore, they didn't dare to say anything out loud and continued to observe. I am sure many of you have countless questions in your mind. What is Lord Finkelstein doing here? Why is Lord Finkelstein wearing this coat that only the general is allowed to wear? Why has Lord Finkelstein ordered us to gather here? Don't worry, I will answer all your questions right now. Now, before I start, let me make a few things clear. From now on, you are not going to address me as Lord Finkelstein. From now on, you all would address me as General Finkelstein. Finkelstein announced loudly, and soon the soldiers frowned. What? General Finkelstein? Why would he call him that? Also, why is he wearing that coat? Is he going to become the general as well? Huh? How is that possible? How can there be two generals in the army? Indeed, there must be something else. Is it one of General Finkelstein's games? That might be the case. The soldiers started chatting with each other, and silence! A loud roar was heard. Silence. Silence fell over the area. Finkelstein then looked at the soldiers in front of him and continued, "You lot are not allowed to speak until I am done with my part. Is that clear?" No one answered. "Is that clear?" Finkelstein shouted, and at the same time he released his suppressing aura. His technique worked, and the soldiers' bodies moved instinctively. "Yes, sir!" "Good," Finkelstein praised. No matter how one looked at this scene, although he did use a little force to do it, Finkelstein proved that he indeed had leadership capabilities. Due to some unforeseen events, General Ember Windstar will be retiring early and will no longer serve as the general of our dynasty. Soldiers' eyes widened in surprise. However, before they could react, Finkelstein continued. General Ember has served the army for 60 long years and has achieved countless things in this time. She is without a doubt one of the strongest and most successful generals that has ever served our dynasty. However, now that she is leaving, the dynast has given me this difficult task to fill the void she has left and become the next general of the army. Now, I call General Ember Windstar, who would like to give her final goodbyes to her dear soldiers. Finkelstein then turned in a certain direction, and soon a woman walked forward and stepped inside the encirclement. General Ember. Seeing Ember standing right in front of her, Ember raised her eyebrows in surprise. However, soon her surprise disappeared, and she turned toward the soldiers. Soldiers of the Woods Dynasty. Then another speech followed. Nux, who was observing everything from afar, was surprised. This Finkelstein, that man was smarter than he thought. Unlike how he predicted that Finkelstein would act arrogantly and try to insult Ember, Finkelstein did the opposite and has been showing his respect for Ember from the moment he arrived here. That was a mature move on his part. Nux, Thyra, and Ember were impressed. With this, I will be taking my leave. However, I will leave my one last order here. Do not die a wasteful death. Is that clear? Yeah! A roar countless times louder than before was heard. Nux noticed a small twitch on Finkelstein's face. However, he quickly turned that into a smile and turned toward Ember. General Ember, Dynast has prepared these 2 escorts for you. They will take you to the capital city safely. I have also prepared the carriage for you and have ensured that you will have a comfortable journey. Finkelstein bowed as he pointed at the 2 men who were standing behind him. Nux, Ember, and Thyra's expressions turned solemn when they saw the 2 experienced stage cultivators. Heh, escorts my ass. Aren't they just here to keep an eye on me and ensure that I reach the capital without any hitches? Ember thought inwardly and chuckled. Well, it's not like 2 experienced stage cultivators are going to make any difference.
Ember's eyes then turned cold. The dynast is just wasting 2 precious lives by sending them here. That is very thoughtful of you, General Finkelstein. Ember smiled. Finkelstein smiled back, and then he bowed his head. I hope you have a safe journey, General Ember. Just leave already. Isn't that what those words actually mean? Ember chuckled. Don't worry. I don't plan on stalling for more as well. All right, I will be taking my leave then. Ember smiled. And then she turned around. Finkelstein then looked at the 2 men he brought with him and nodded. The 2 men nodded back and then started following Ember from behind. Finkelstein, the 3 deputy generals, and the soldiers did the same. Yes, every single one of the soldiers wanted to escort Ember to the carriage. The situation would have become a big mess if the deputy generals hadn't made their moves and settled the soldiers. Have a great life ahead, General Ember. I hope your life as Dynast's concubine is fun. Seeing that no one was around, Finkelstein looked at Ember with a big smirk on his face. Ember just looked at Finkelstein and smiled. Be careful out there.
Huh?
Finkelstein frowned in confusion. However, Ember already entered the carriage and only spoke one thing. You know me. I wouldn't have given up if I was in a hopeless situation. I just hope you can deal with what I, Ember Windstar, see as hopeless. I wish you luck, new general. Under the confused and doubtful expression on Finkelstein's face, the carriage started moving.
Why did you stop the carriage? Ember questioned with a frown on her face. The escort named Jack, who was sitting with Ember inside the carriage, frowned and knocked on the carriage walls. Jerry, why did you stop the carriage? There is a man standing in front of the carriage, the other escort named Jerry, who was driving the carriage, answered. And as if confirming those words, whatever you are carrying is mine. Return what belongs to me back to me. Hearing those words, Jerry frowned and looked at the bandit with a deadpan look on his face. You idiot! At least look at the cultivation stage of the man you are trying to rob before making a move. Jerry was pretty sure that the bandit would soon panic when he noticed how strong he is and would stop bothering him. He was too bored, however. Since he wanted to leave a good impression on Ember, he didn't kill this man right now. However, contrary to his expectation, rather than fear, the bandit only looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot, and, You idiot! At least look at the cultivation stage of the man you are trying to talk big to. Jerry blinked a few times. Then he narrowed his eyes to check the bandit's cultivation and, You idiot! Jerry panicked. He quickly moved from the driving seat and rushed towards Ember. General Ember, you have to help us. Huh? You can't even handle a mere bandit now? Ember questioned in a disinterested tone. Even Jack had a frown on his face. He couldn't understand why Jerry would ask General Ember's help for something so trivial like this. However, Jerry's next words shocked him to his core. He is a king stage cultivator. What? Jack exclaimed in shock. Yes, I'm not lying. Jack quickly rushed out of his carriage and glanced at the bandit who was looking at them in patience. You idiot! Jack's eyes widened in surprise, and he quickly turned toward Ember and asked for her help. General, you have to help us. He's not an opponent we can defeat ourselves. Huh? Aren't you the escorts sent here to protect me and ensure my comfort during my travel? Why should I do your work? Ember questioned, and the 2 escorts were speechless. General, this is not the time to play. Jack wanted to complain. However, soon someone tapped him on his shoulders and, Excuse me, I think I've been very patient for a while now. Can you return what you guys took from me? I'm in a bit of a hurry. The bandit seemed like a gentleman. We do not have anything inside the carriage except for a human. However, if you want money, then you can... Huh? Why would I want money? Do you think I lack money? I'm not trying to rob you guys. I only want what is already mine. Now do it while I'm asking it politely, or you won't like where this will lead to," the bandit threatened. "But we don't have anything that belongs to you," Jack stuttered. The bandit then shook his head and sighed. "I guess you want to take the hard way." Saying that, the bandit raised his hands. The escorts tried to defend themselves. However, the bandit was too fast. His hands appeared on their faces and he pushed them to the side, throwing them to the ground like they are stone statues. "No! Don't go inside!" Jerry shouted. However, Jack stopped him and shook his head. Let him do what he wants. Once the general gets annoyed, she would deal with him herself. That was his plan. There weren't many people who could defeat General Ember in a battle after all. And as if he had the same thought in his mind, Jerry turned silent and just looked at the scene in front of him with a sly smile on his face. However, what the two of them saw after that caused their jaws to drop on the ground. The bandit, whose half of the body was inside the carriage, moved out with General Ember in his arms. The man then turned towards them and snorted. "Huh! You dare lie to me when you are hiding what belongs to me inside this carriage of yours? Do you have a death wish?" Silence. The escorts, however, weren't listening to whatever the bandit said, since they were too busy looking at General Ember, who was hugging the bandit like a koala. This is the fiery killer? They wondered in their heads. The two of them were so shocked that they didn't even notice their impending deaths. Soon, a sword appeared in Nux's hand. Seeing the sword, the two escorts finally came out of their reverie. However, it was too late. Whoosh! Thud, thud. A sword slashed, and two heads flew into the air. Before they could even understand what happened, the two escorts were beheaded. Tisk, tisk. To think you will kill these two escorts so mercilessly. Are you sure that you are just an 18-year-old boy or a merciless killer? Ember questioned with a small smile on her face. Trust me, I'm only an 18-year-old boy. A boy who managed to defeat the fiery killer and made her my woman. Heh, Ember just smiled. So, how long are you planning to stay there? Thyra, who walked towards them, questioned with an extremely jealous face. Ember looked at Thyra for a while, and then, heh! With a small chuckle, she turned her face away. Thyra's face twitched in annoyance. Nux enjoyed their attraction, and at the same time he attacked the carriage with an earth spike spell, then burned the ground with fire spells and started using all the elements around the area. Once he was done, he turned to Thyra and smiled. It's time to leave now. Thyra, who was glaring at Ember, smiled lovingly and nodded. Knock, knock, knock. In the middle of the night, someone aggressively knocked on Arvina's room. "Who is this?" Arvina questioned in an annoyed tone as she sat up. Knock, knock, knock. Since the knocking on the door still continued, Arvina stood up from her bed and walked towards the door with an angry expression on her face. This isn't something very important, whoever it is, he or she will pay dearly for ruining my sleep. Arvina swore inwardly and aggressively opened the door. You better have a good reason. However, before she could even complete her sentence, she paused. Nux? She questioned with a frown. Yes, the man who was knocking on her doors for so long was none other than her student, a student who... Shouldn't you be in the Woods dynasty right now? Arvina questioned with a confused look on her face. Teacher Arvina, we need your help. However, unlike his usual playful smile on his face, Arvina noticed that Nux was looking at her with a nervous and somewhat desperate look on his face. Arvina was even more confused now. She has never seen this expression on Nux's face. What happened? Arvina questioned. However, instead of answering, Nux just turned his head and looked in another direction. Arvina frowned. However, before she could ask, another woman walked out and appeared in front of her. A woman she knew very well. Ember? Arvina narrowed her eyes. It has been a while, Arv. Ember smiled lightly.
"What are you doing here?" Arvina questioned in confusion. "Teacher Ember, we need your help. Ember left the Woods dynasty and now is looking for a place to hide. No other place came into my mind and I brought her help. Please hide Ember in your mansion, Teacher Arvina, I beg you." However, those words did not lessen Arvina's confusion at all. Rather, they only increased the number of questions in her head. Left the Woods dynasty? Why? Aren't you a general of the Woods dynasty's army? Why do you want to hide here? Who are you hiding from? What happened? "Things are bad," Ember muttered, and this time a solemn look appeared on Arvina's face. She looked at Nux and questioned in a tone that demanded answers. "What happened in the Woods army camp? Why are you here so suddenly? Why is the general of the Woods dynasty here with you? And who are you running away from? I need answers to all these questions, and do it as clearly as you can." Nux then looked at Arvina, and with a serious look on his face, he answered, "An emperor is making his moves." Arvina's eyes widened. "What?" "Yes, so what happened was—" Nux then started recounting whatever happened until now in detail, and an hour later Arvina, who right now was sitting inside her room on a chair with her hands on her chin and an extremely serious look on her face, summarized. "So you're saying that Lord Hermes is making his moves and has taken control over the solid Earth Kingdom. The kingdom has now been completely changed, with close to no criminals roaming around. Not only that, but the kingdom has also started recruiting strong sect members, wandering cultivators and adventurers into its ranks, and now have 7 king-stage generals in their army." "Yes, that is correct." "You have reported all of this to your dynast. However, that man is still stuck in his past and wants to use this opportunity to weaken your influence and then pressure you into marrying him." "Indeed. He thinks that since I'm making all of this up and nothing I reported to him was true, he told me to deal with all this on my own and is not willing to help me at all." Hearing those words, Arvina frowned. "How does that make sense? With your past achievements as a general, it is clear that you are not someone who would make this up." "He is nothing but a fool. He is not thinking things through at all. With him as the leader, the Woods dynasty will face heavy losses. However, the problem is that the one suffering from this would be Ember. If she stays there and fights, she would lose her influence when the war ends and she loses. If she quits and refuses to lead the army, she would be called a coward and would be blamed by others as someone who fled in front of difficulties. This would affect her influence as well. No matter what step she takes, things wouldn't end in her favor at all. Therefore, I told her to leave that messy situation and brought her here." Nux answered, and then he continued, "And now I want your help and request you to hide her here. No matter how dumb that dynast is, won't dare to search inside the strongest kingdom in this world, especially not inside the academy that is the heart of that kingdom." Arvina looked at Nux and a small smile appeared on her face. "Nux, you look a little mature now." Nux frowned. "He matured? When? Why didn't he notice anything?" "Well, I don't know how to say it, but I definitely feel that you changed a little. Don't worry, we will analyze this together. As for your request, I accept it. General Ember helped and guided you. As your teacher, it is my duty to help her when she needs it." A big smile appeared on Nux's face. "Teacher Arvina, you are the best. I love you." Arvina just chuckled and shook her head. Ember, however, looked at this situation with an amused smile on her face, and soon she nodded her head. Suddenly, Nux stood up from his chair and looked at the 2 women in front of him with a smile on his face. "Well, this is good. Now that General Ember is living here, you 2 old friends can catch up to each other. As for me, well, I have to meet, so I would be taking my leave now. You 2 have a good night ahead." Saying that, Nux turned around.
However, just as he was about to leave, Arvina noticed his cultivation.
Just as Nux was about to leave, Arvina noticed his cultivation and her eyes widened in surprise. King stage! She wanted to talk to him about this. However, when she came out of her shock, Nux had already left her room. Nux, wait! Arvina didn't give up. She stood up and dashed outside her room. However, when she looked around the corridor outside her room, Nux was nowhere to be found. It was as if he disappeared into thin air. Arvina frowned. Don't bother, Arv. There are people he wants to mate. He was getting impatient, so he must have ran with all his might, and you already know, if a king stage cultivator gives his all, you won't be able to catch him no matter what. Arvina looked at Ember, and seeing the calm look on her face, she shook her head. You do not understand. That boy is just 18 years old. He was a Grand Master stage cultivator when I met him, and it was just a few months ago. That boy became a King stage cultivator from a Grand Master stage cultivator in just a matter of a few months. Isn't that ridiculous? Well, he is Nux. He was a monster from the start. Ember shrugged with a nonchalant look on her face. Seeing that reaction, Arvina frowned. She wanted to retort to her words, however, now that she thinks about it, isn't that the perfect reason and the best explanation there is? How did he become a king stage cultivator so quickly? Well, because he was Nux. He has done so many impossible things before. Why not just add another one to that list? When Arvina thought about it that way, she wasn't as shocked as before. She has to admit, this was indeed a good way to think things when it was related to Nux. However, Arvina didn't like the fact that the one who came up with this theory was not her, but Ember. Why? Just why did this woman come up with a theory to deal with her student? Shouldn't she be the one who should come up with something like this? The more she thought about it, the more Arvina frowned. She then walked towards Ember and sat down next to her. You understand him well, huh? Well, I have been observing him for more than a month now. Ember smiled. Arvina frowned inwardly. I have been doing the same, you know. However, she didn't say that out loud and nodded her head. That sounds reasonable, but still, aren't you acting a little too nonchalant right now? He's an 18-year-old king stage cultivator after all. You have to be a little shocked, right? It's not like I'm not shocked, I just got numb. What do you mean? That boy has done a lot of things in these past few days he's been with me. It won't be wrong to say that this boy has practically saved me and my entire army many times. He has achieved feats that most of the soldiers who have countless years of experience haven't. Hearing those words, a proud smile appeared on Arvina's face. As I expected. Although she didn't say it out loud, the words, "He is my students," were written on her face, in capital letters. It couldn't be any more obvious. Ember, of course, understood what she wanted to say as well. She wanted to smile with her as well. However, before that, she wanted to confirm something else. Arvina, I have a few questions that I want you to answer. Would you mind doing that? Suddenly, the frown on Arvina's face disappeared. The two of them are meeting each other after years, and they are not as close to each other as they were before. However, this didn't mean that they have completely forgotten about each other. Arvina knew what the look on Ember's face meant right now. She was dead serious right now. Ask. Arvina nodded her head. Ember then placed her hands on the table and moved her upper body close to Arvina. Then her red eyes shined brightly as they scanned Arvina's facial expressions, as if trying to see if she would lie or not. What is your plan? Just what are you thinking right now? She questioned. Huh? Plans? What plans? Arvina frowned. I'm talking about Nux. Why are you helping him? You know how monstrously talented he is, correct? With his talent, sooner or later, he and the Skyfall Kingdom would become enemies. What will you do if that happens? Who will you side with that day? Ember questioned. Huh? What kind of question is that? Isn't it obvious? I would side with my student, of course. Arvina answered without even thinking about it. Ember, however, wasn't done yet. So you are going to betray the kingdom you have lived your life in?
No, I am not betraying the kingdom. I'm just betraying the Skyfall family. I feel that whatever happens after this would be better for the kingdom. It just won't be Skyfall anymore." Arvina answered with the same resolution as before. "You are close to the Emperor stage cultivator of your kingdom, correct? I heard that she has been protecting you and that she is the reason that that perverted king of yours hasn't touched you, right? Are you going to betray the woman who has been protecting you for so many years for a student who you have just met a few months ago?" Ember tilted her head as she probed. The situation where Nux and teacher Astaria face each other won't happen." Ember narrowed her eyes. "You did not answer my question." "That is my answer to your question," Arvina shot back. "All right, let me create a hypothetical situation for you. Let's say your teacher and Nux do fight each other. What would you then do? Who would you side with? Nux, your student, or your teacher?"
Let's say your teacher and Nux do fight each other. What would you then? Who would you side with? Nux, your student, or your teacher? Ember narrowed her eyes and questioned. Hearing those words, Arvina turned silent and started thinking. Her teacher, who supported her throughout her life, or her student, who would she choose? It was a big question. She needed time to think about it. However, even after thinking for a good 5 minutes, Arvina was unable to come up with an answer. "So you haven't decided that, have you?" Ember questioned. Hearing those words, Arvina snapped. "This question is wrong to begin with." Ember frowned. However, Arvina didn't care about that and continued. "A hypothetical situation means nothing. What you are saying doesn't make any sense. As I said before, I will make sure that my teacher and Nux don't face each other. I have talked about this with Nux, and I am sure he would respect my words and my plans. Talking about something that won't happen is useless," Arvina snorted. Ember, however, didn't seem satisfied by that answer. Well, she can't be blamed either. Unlike Arvina, she knew how Nux's ability works. If they follow Arvina's plans, Nux would never become an Emperor stage cultivator and would always be stuck in King stage. To break through the King stage, Nux would need Arvina's teacher's help. Therefore, he can't wait and lay low until she dies. The two of them have to meet each other, and once they meet, they would most probably be enemies. That was the reason why Ember was trying to prepare Arvina for this situation. It is a However, before she could even complete her words, Arvina questioned, "Why do you care?" "Huh?" Ember frowned at the sudden question. "You were too aggressive with your previous questions for someone who only knew Nux for like a month. In the end, he is just a boy sent by me to your army camp so that he can gain a little experience. Why are you so involved with him? It is not like you cannot run away from the Woods dynasty on your own. It might be more complicated than just directly getting Nux's help, but I still believe that if a king stage cultivator like you wants to, you can easily hide from the world. Isn't Nux just a more convenient way out for you?" "No, Nux is not just a more convenient way out for me. Our relationship is a lot deeper than you think." Ember's reply was instantaneous. From her tone, it was clear that she did not like Arvina's words one bit. Arvina, however, did not back down. "Oh? What is your relationship with him then? What would you do if Nux ends up fighting an Emperor stage cultivator? Would you run away or would you fight together with him?" "I will fight together with him, of course. I would use my life to protect him if the situation asks for it. Remember, Arvina, I was the general of the army before coming here. I am not scared of losing my life." Arvina was taken aback by those words. She never expected Arvina to say such words and with such convictions at that. It was a bit overwhelming if she was to be honest. "Just what is your relationship with Nux for you to say those words without any hesitation?" Arvina questioned. She didn't know if even she could say those words with such determination. Suddenly, a small smile appeared on Ember's face as she revealed, "We are lovers." "Huh?" Arvina's eyes widened in surprise. "You heard it. We too are lovers now," Ember repeated. "How?" Arvina still believed that Ember was lying to her. However, seeing that Ember wasn't saying anything else after that, Arvina realized that she wasn't fooling around. Ember was actually serious. "What about that challenge of yours? About the man defeating you before winning your heart?" Arvina questioned. "Didn't you see his cultivation just now?" Ember questioned back. "I did. He was a king stage." Arvina realized. He defeated you?" A wry smile appeared on Ember's face. "Although it is a bit embarrassing for me to lose against someone so younger than me, in the end, I just accepted the reality and my loss." Then a beautiful smile appeared on Ember's face as she continued. "I got the love of my life in exchange, after all." Arvina turned silent. She couldn't believe that the woman blushing and smiling in front of her was that fierce general who has killed thousands of people with her sword. Just how did he do that? She wondered in surprise. With the help of her newly gained insight, Arvina was not shocked by the fact that Nux is now strong enough to defeat Ember, one of the strongest king stage cultivators in this world. However, that smile on Ember's face? It is not something that a woman who got into a relationship with a man by a bet or a challenge would show. That was the smile on a woman in love. She has seen this smile on countless women's faces, however, never in her wildest dreams did she think that she would see this smile on Ember's face. This was simply amazing. Arvina was surprised and overwhelmed. However, at the same time, she was a little annoyed. Why is that boy going around charming countless women like it's some sort of competition? Half the girls in the academy dream about him. Even a few married female teachers have their eyes on him. But as if that wasn't enough, this boy just went to an army camp and brought back the general of that army as his woman. Just how ridiculous is that? Arvina was out of words. Her eyes then fell on Ember, who seemed to be lost in her own fantasy and couldn't believe her eyes. "What is with that silly smile on your face? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you?" Arvina questioned inwardly. However, seeing that there was no change in Ember's expression, she couldn't help but shake her head and curse in her head. "Nux, you little bastard!" Chee! On the other hand, Nux, who was about to meet Amaya, sneezed, and then he frowned. "Huh? Just who is thinking about me?" he wondered inwardly. Soon, a playful smile appeared on his face as he nodded to himself. "I bet she is a woman. Coo, coo, coo."
"It feels good," Amaya muttered in a soft voice as she tightened her grip on the Nux's hand she was holding. A smile appeared on Nux's face as he strengthened his grip as well. "Indeed, it feels good to walk around like this." Nux nodded as he looked around with a curious look on his face. "That royal garden is a good place to spend your time with your loved ones," Nux stated, and Amaya couldn't agree more. Yes, right now the two of them were roaming around in the royal garden inside the royal palace, right in front of the guards. Of course, the guards couldn't see them, but that is beside the point. The two of them were using conceal. Why go through that much trouble? Why not stay in Amaya's room and spend time there? Well, that was an option. However, Nux knew that Amaya has been trapped inside that room for a very long time now, especially with her curse, where she can move her body and could only lay down and stare at the ceiling of her room. Therefore, he decided to change things a little, and with that smile he was seeing on Amaya's face right now, he would say it was a perfect decision. I'm tired now." Suddenly, Amaya muttered. "Huh?" Nux frowned. However, soon he understood what she meant and couldn't help but shake his head. Then he walked in front of Amaya and crouched. Amaya smiled and quickly jumped on his back. Nux then stood up and carried the woman on his back. Amaya chuckled. "Is this comfortable enough for you, princess?" Nux questioned respectfully. "Yes, now move forward. March."
Amaya pointed in a certain direction, and Nux started walking. Of course, he didn't do this service for free. Since Amaya was taking advantage of him, it was only natural for him to do the same thing after all. Nux's hands moved from her hands and he grabbed her thighs. Then his hands moved inside the gown she was wearing, touching her smooth skin. They then moved higher and higher, and soon Nux's hands were very close to Amaya's forbidden region. As if satisfied by where he is reached, Nux's hands stopped moving and started caressing Amaya's inner thighs. Amaya, of course, didn't have any problems with that at all. She just continued to look around and observe the beautiful flowers, the leaves that moved due to the wind, the well-trimmed grass, the stars in the sky, and at the same time enjoy Nux's touch. This small little walk was a memorable experience for her. Eventually, time passed by, and since the time limit of conceal was about to end, Nux and Amaya decided to return. A solemn look then appeared on Amaya's face as she started. "We need to make our move, and we have to do it as soon as possible." "Huh?" Nux tilted his head. With the Emperor stage cultivator of the Woods dynasty coming into the picture, everything has become a lot more complicated than before. Not only that, but I have noticed that the Kingdom of Scotty is making some strange moves as well. I tried to get some information out, however, all my information network was blocked. I do not know if it is related to the Emperor stage cultivator of the Scotty Kingdom or not, however, I do believe that something is happening. A storm is brewing, Nux, a storm that we have no information about," Amaya declared, and Nux's face turned serious. "Do you think the Emperors making their moves is related to us?" It was a dumb question. If the strongest beings living in this world are moving, of course it is going to affect every being living in this world. Nux knew that as well. However, he still wanted to confirm a few things. "Well, there aren't any direct relations yet. However, with the goal that we have in our mind, it is certain that we are going to clash with them in the future. Actually, what I'm talking about isn't actually related to the Emperors. They will be a big problem today. However, currently we have an even bigger problem to deal with, and that is Allura." Nux nodded in agreement. Yes, she is indeed in some trouble right now. She has become an expert stage cultivator from a master stage cultivator. In just a few months, she has practically skipped the whole Grand Master stage. This has attracted many eyes on her. Even the king was interested in her. They have placed many spies around her to see if she is hiding anything, and things have become a little complicated. I am different. I can just blame it on my curse and get away with it. However, Allura can't do that. Things might seem calm right now. However, with you becoming a king stage cultivator now, it is only a matter of time before she becomes a king stage cultivator as well. And once that happens, I am sure she would be surrounded by the king and his men. Nux's face turned solemn as well. Actually, once Allura's cultivation was revealed, I wanted to return. However, Allura ensured me that she would deal with it and convinced me to focus on our mission. Of course, she did what she said she was going to do splendidly and got more time. However, I still didn't like the fact that there were countless eyes keeping tabs on her woman's actions. "Do you have a plan?" Nux questioned. And then, "So what I plan to do is—" A long conversation continued. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on Yvain's door. Yvain, who was busy with her painting, frowned. She then stood up and opened the door. "Who is it?" "Princess Yvain, I am back." Nux, who was wearing armor while carrying a helmet in his hand, spoke with a smile on his face. "Nux?" Yvain blinked a few times. "Huh? Why that expression? You did not forget about me, did you?" Nux questioned with a playful smile on his face. "Of course not." Yvain's answer was instantaneous. Hearing those words, Nux nodded to himself as well.
Indeed, indeed, there's no way your mind would forget about me, right, Princess Yvain? Nux's smile widened. Yvain snorted and nodded to herself. Well, you are Nux all right. Nux had that unique way of talking, a little arrogant, a little playful. It wasn't disrespectful in any way, rather it had its own unique charm and was like his identity. Yvain, who was missing this for a while now, smiled inwardly. It is good that you recognized me. Nux nodded, and then he extended his hands towards Yvain. So, where is my welcome back hug? Huh? Yvain frowned at the sudden request. Well, I returned after fighting a long, tiresome, and cruel war, and you were the first person I reported to. Princess Yvain, your knight is back. He deserves a welcome back hug as a reward, does he not? Nux questioned with a playful look on his face. Yvain blushed a little and didn't move. She just stood there with an embarrassed look on her face and hesitated. Nux, however, had a very thick skin. Nux just stood there with his hands extended towards Yvain. Something like this won't make him feel awkward at all. Princess Yvain, you aren't planning to abandon your knight, are you? He questioned. What's with that Princess Yvain this, Princess Yvain that you are talking about? This is the Royal Academy. I am not a princess but a teacher here, so don't call me that, Yvain retorted. My hug, Princess Yvain. Nux, however, did not listen to Yvain's words at all. He just stood there with his hands extended towards Yvain, and this time he even closed his eyes. His intention was clear. He would stay in this place as long as he does not get the hug he wanted. Yvain understood that as well. Therefore, in the end, she finally gave in, and with a face as red as a tomato, she finally moved and hugged Nux. With the thick armor he was wearing, Nux wasn't able to enjoy this hug at all. However, he was not annoyed by that at all. It was all for the greater good, after all. This little sacrifice was worth it. Nux then moved his hands and hugged her back. Yvain's face turned even redder when she felt that thick armor all over her body, especially on her breasts. For some reason, she felt very comfortable and safe in this situation. She did not hate this feeling at all. Soon, however, Yvain's eyes widened in surprise, and she shook her head repeatedly. Yvain, just what are you thinking? He is your student! Your student! However, while she was lost in her own thoughts, Nux placed his chin on Yvain's shoulder and whispered softly, It feels good, Princess Yvain. That's teacher Yvain for you, Yvain retorted. Well, to be honest, I'm fine with Yvain as well. Only if you would allow me to call you that, of course. What are you talking about? Nux's words were like a jumbled puzzle for Yvain's mind, a mind that was already a big mess right now. Teacher Yvain, after participating in this war, I realized something. What is it? Yvain questioned back. In these last few days, I have killed a lot of people. I have seen many enemies and allies dying on the battlefield. I have even picked up bodies of my allies to whom I talked with just a day before the battle. And going through all of this, I realized that life is too short to hold yourself back in fear of what others would think. We might be alive and doing well today. However, the next day, someone might assassinate us and take our most precious thing away from us. Therefore, it is better to just do what you want and live however you want. And this is exactly how I will live from now on. Nux smiled. That sounds like a good way to live. Huh? Yvain nodded and agreed with Nux's words. However, before she could even complete her sentence, Nux moved and tightened his hug around her. Therefore, from now on, I will not hold back my thoughts and do exactly what I wanted to do since the first day I met you, Nux whispered. This time, however, Yvain noticed the change in his tone. His words sounded possessive. It was as if Nux was trying to say something to her, and of course, Yvain had a rough idea of what it was. That was the reason why she was so flustered. She wasn't ready to hear those words right now. However, Nux didn't seem to know about her thoughts and continued. I know what I am saying is morally wrong since we are teacher and student. However, the moment I laid my eyes on you, my heart started beating unnaturally and I fell in love. Everything happened so quickly that I was unable to react in time. I know that what I am saying might strain our current relationship. However, if I don't say these words when I have the chance, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Nux then released Yvain from his hug and grabbed her shoulders. With his golden eyes shining brightly, he looked straight into Yvain's eyes and, "Yvain, I love you." Badoomp. Yvain's heart skipped a beat. She had already guessed what Nux wanted to say and was already thinking about different replies in her mind. Should she accept it? Should she reject it? How should she reject it? Should she be strict and yell at Nux for thinking about something so wrong? Or should she reject him politely while being considerate of his feelings? Actually, why even reject him? Should she just accept his proposal and live a whole new life? No. It was definitely better to reject him, or maybe accepting it was better. Or, yes, her mind was a big mess right now, and she wasn't able to come up with a certain fixed answer. Therefore, she just turned silent and didn't reply. Nux, of course, expected something like that. He just stepped back and smiled. I know this is all too sudden for you, Yvain. I don't want you to rush it. Think things through at your own pace. You can answer me whenever you want. I will wait for your response. After saying that, Nux turned around and left. Clank, clank, clank. The heavy armor he was wearing produced different sounds as his body moved. Those sounds echoed inside Yvain's mind, and seeing his walking figure, Yvain felt a strange pain in her heart. She wanted to stop the man who was walking away. However, the thought that this man was just an 18-year-old boy and her student stopped her steps. Just like Nux said, this wasn't something she could think about in just 5 or 10 minutes. She needs to think about it thoroughly and then come up with a good answer. Yvain nodded to herself, and with a heavy heart, she walked into her room. There, her eyes fell on a certain painting, a painting where a man wearing thick armor was walking towards a woman wearing expensive-looking clothes. This painting was about a princess meeting the knight who has just returned from war. The story behind this painting was simple. The princess and the knight loved each other. However, due to their status, they couldn't get married to each other. The knight, however, still dared and confessed his love for the princess. The princess accepted, and the two of them lived happily ever after. How they lived and where they lived didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was that they lived together, overcoming all the hardships they faced. Living happily ever after. Yvain thought about it for a while and turned silent. With heavy thoughts weighing her mind, she decided to call it off and closed her eyes. The next day, Yvain woke up, took a bath, ate her breakfast, and then she walked towards her class. When she entered the classroom, she noticed that many girls were standing around a certain seat, and on that seat there sat a boy who was smiling at her. "Oh, Teacher Yvain is here. Good morning, Teacher Yvain." For some reason, seeing that sight in front of her, Yvain felt annoyed.